Our wimpy summoner, Bong Juhyuk, was just minding his own business when a massive portal ripped open his room, only for him to find himself face-to-face with a deranged assassin tying ribbons on severed heads. Yeah, that's John Cossack, his first and very unstable summon, who sometimes shows up wearing a horse head and even accidentally stabs our gacha boy in the stomach. But don't worry, our reluctant hero quickly learns to fight back, literally striking down orcs with lightning magic, while pulling incredible SSR rank summons. You'll see all kinds of wild things emerge from his portals, from tiny creatures in construction helmets to ancient Taoist immortals, leaving our timid tower player completely terrified. Here's the thing. Juhyuk soon discovers he can actually bring items back from these other worlds, building a collection so absurd it leaves even the most experienced adventurers sweating in disbelief. Before long, he's lounging by a pool of cash with his whole crew, literally swimming in gold. But to understand how our anxious wimp ended up like this, we have to go back to where it all began. Our story starts with Bong Juhyuk, a timid young man walking home down a dim alley, trying to ignore the rude chatter of two men on the stairs, as he approaches his humble 180-square-foot rooftop apartment. Ramen for dinner again, he sighs to himself, dreading the monotony, and soon enough, a steaming bowl of instant noodles sits before him. He muses about his future, certain that since he has no special skills, he has no bright prospects either. But just as he's resigned to his fate, a magical blue light suddenly flashes in his room, and our wimpy summoner spits out his ramen in shock, as a mysterious voice announces his awakening. Awakenings are a big deal in this world, often called a blessing, a chance to hit the jackpot and turn your life around, but they come with a deadly catch. You have to enter dangerous monster-filled towers to enjoy it. This is a huge problem for Juhyuk, who's reading the risks on a system window because he actively avoids all confrontations, tries his best not to enter dangerous situations, and even avoids walking under construction sites. He can't believe this is happening, wondering if he's just hallucinating from exhaustion. But when he reaches out to touch the translucent interface, he realizes he's not dreaming at all. His class is Summoner, a trait that allows him to call forth specific categories of beings, but he can't figure out what kind of summoner he is. He decides to try using a skill now that he's awakened, waving his hand nervously at the empty air, but nothing happens. Then he remembers a crucial detail. A player's abilities and skills are only effective inside the tower, which is common knowledge he's embarrassed to have forgot. There's no way a skill would activate outside it, he thinks, just before a system notification screams "what?" at him, as his random summon skill unexpectedly activates. Suddenly, a bright glow appears, revealing a fully formed hero. The summoned hero greets our gacha master with a smile, while Juhyuk asks in disbelief, "Why did that work? Wait, are you a person?" Our reluctant hero is beyond confused, realizing he's not in the tower and has summoned a human instead of a spirit or golem. The summoned hero, John Cossack, immediately sniffs the air, and of all things, Juhyuk has summoned a one-bite ramen moocher. Cossack slurps up the noodles, declaring them spicy, which makes Juhyuk wonder why a hero thinks mild udon is hot. He's completely distressed, unable to understand how his skill activated outside the tower, or why he summoned a human of all things. Checking his status window, he realizes his summons are like gacha game characters, with rarity tiers attached. The system also displays the 3 principles of the summoned, which state the summon must protect the summoner's life above all else and absolutely obey orders, with the first principle taking precedence if they conflict. As Cossack drinks from the ramen bowl, Juhyuk finds himself disturbed, but also intrigued by the absolute obedience clause. Suddenly, a rush of terrifying information floods Juhyuk's mind about John Cossack, the mad assassin of the Cruel Assassins Guild. He's forced to witness Cossack's past, starting with the assassination of a Fifth Circle warlock, as he falls through a glowing void of memories, seeing a terrifying image of Cossack waiting for him. Juhyuk watches in shock as Cossack moves swiftly through a chaotic battle, observing the violent flashback, realizing this is Cossack's past, and witnessing Cossack perform lethal attacks on groups of enemies. He's horrified to see Cossack tying red ribbons onto severed heads, asking, "Is he insane? Why is HE Gift wrapping their HEADS?" The mad assassin then turns, giving a sinister grin. But Cossack's bloody career came to an end with a single failed mission, when his target was the Empire's strongest swordmaster. Juhyuk falls backward in terror as Cossack approaches him in the present, instinctively apologizing for his fear. Our wimpy summoner tries to calm himself, reminding himself that he doesn't have to be scared. He points at the dirty ramen pot, ordering Cossack to wash it, and the mad assassin enthusiastically complies. Juhyuk is surprised by how fast Cossack is, and that he doesn't complain. He's shocked to see that Cossack truly does everything he says, watching on with a bewildered expression. Cossack asks for more orders, assuring Juhyuk he will obey anything, even absurd commands, and then he stares downward with a submissive expression, making Juhyuk sweat nervously. The mad assassin then refers to himself like a dog. Juhyuk wonders if he's gone too far, panicking at the thought that a man with Cossack's pride might snap, as Cossack playfully circles the table like a dog. But then Juhyuk gives a thumbs up, realizing that Cossack truly is absolutely obedient. Suddenly, a loud pounding on the door startles both of them. Juhyuk realizes with dread that he forgot to pay the loan sharks their interest payment. He quickly tells Cossack to get up, and the assassin immediately obeys. Joo-hyuk's debt story is a sad one. It was for his dad's surgery after a hip fracture, and to pay for his younger brother's college tuition, forcing him into a desperate situation where he's already paid over 5 million won in interest. He knows it was stupid, but he feels he had no other choice and would do it again. The loan shark's voice cuts through his thoughts, pretending to be concerned, but Joo-hyuk quickly tells Cossack, "That's not IT," as Cossack menacingly pulls out a dagger, offering to bring Joo-hyuk the bastard's heads. Joo-hyuk presses Cossack against the wall, shushing him and restraining him from causing a huge problem. The loan shark, wearing gold rings, grabs Joo-hyuk by the neck, feigning worry about his missed payment. The scar-faced man looms over our wimpy summoner, threatening him, saying he can always sell an organ if he's in a pinch. He grins, suggesting one kidney would solve all Joo-hyuk's problems, and the other loan shark suggests selling his younger brother, saying they're more expensive. Joo-hyuk keeps his head bowed, looking utterly defeated, forcing a nervous, sweat-beaded smile, and weakly insists he wouldn't dare. After the loan sharks leave, Joo-hyuk stares at the closed door, exhausted. Cossack steps out of the bathroom, and Joo-hyuk is left to contemplate. He's worked a double shift, awakened, summoned a human, and dealt with loan sharks, wondering if he should really try climbing the tower. But our timid tower player sits on the ground, defeated, convinced a coward like him could never climb it. He asks Cossack what to do now, offering to unsummon him if he wants to go back. Cossack, surprisingly, suggests watching TV and ramen, which Joo-hyuk agrees to, despite being confused by Cossack's knowledge of modern comforts. As our reluctant hero watches TV with Cossack sitting beside him, the hero yells, "Yena is Seonyong's daughter" at the screen, and Joo-hyuk finds himself feeling something new. He thinks that while Cossack may be a summoned being, having someone else around isn't so bad, and it's almost comforting as he blinks his tired eyes. He realizes he's been working himself to death, all alone until now, and this is nice. The mad assassin sits staring at the TV as our gacha master wakes up and looks toward the screen. He then sees a system notification. John Kossack has been unsummoned, remembering a vague time limit of 6 hours. Suddenly, a news broadcast starts, making Joo-hyuk jump in shock. While brushing his teeth, he hears the news anchor report a story about an illegal private lending company called Smile Cash in Jangno-gu, Seoul. Joo-hyuk's eyes widen, asking himself, "Wait, Smile Cash?" His toothbrush falls to the floor as the news reveals 3 victims were found decapitated, and what's truly shocking is that their heads were decorated with red ribbons. Flashback of John Cossack tying red ribbons around severed heads flashes in his mind, and Joo-hyuk yells, "John Kossack." Our convenience store clerk is absolutely convinced he's doomed, as 3 severed heads with those familiar red ribbons appear on the news, confirming the return of his mad assassin. He can't shake the image even while working his shift, and then Cossack himself shows up, holding another severed head and cheerfully asking him to ring it up. Joo-hyuk's eyes nearly pop out, but Cossack is already pressing him, asking if he's going to ring him up. Our wimpy summoner recoils in pure terror, dropping everything on the counter, while a concerned customer asks if he's okay. He scrambles to apologize, promising to ring her up right away. Later, walking dejectedly past happy couples in the snow, he knows he can't work like this, so he decides to take a day off from all his jobs. Back in his apartment, he calls up Cossack's summon information, which explicitly calls him a mad assassin, and confirms all of Joo-hyuk's worst fears. He acknowledges that as his summoner, Cossack won't harm him directly, but that doesn't make him any less terrifying. A blue digital interface appears when he reaches out, prompting him to leave a satisfaction rating for John Cossack before his next designated summon. Our rating regulator wants to give him 1 star for murdering people without being asked, and getting him into so much trouble, but he hesitates. He remembers his mother's work as a water purifier coordinator, and how heartbreaking a low satisfaction rating can be, so he settles for 3 stars instead. Just then, Cossack materializes, cheerfully reporting for duty. He thanks Joo-hyuk for the 3 stars, promising to work even harder, which makes our nervous summoner wonder if someone this innocent-looking could really be a killer, and he flat-out tells Cossack to speak freely. Joo-hyuk asks about the men who came to his house yesterday, and Cossack smiles, confirming he took care of them, right before I was unsummoned. The truth hits Joo-hyuk like a punch to the gut, leaving him nauseous and his heart racing. He tries to calm himself, reminding himself that Cossack won't hurt him, but he can't understand how Cossack found their office in the first place, asking if it was some kind of tracker's mark skill. Joo-hyuk is deeply troubled, demanding to know why Cossack went that far. He stresses that he never ordered him to kill anyone. Cossack explains it's due to the 3rd clause of the 3 principles of the summoned, which states that a summon must protect their master from any perceived threat. He clarifies that he viewed the loan sharks as a threat that would eventually endanger Joo-hyuk's life, making it a perfectly reasonable judgment. Joo-hyuk stares in disbelief, finally yelling, That's psychotic." Cossack dismisses it with a wave, saying he hears that a lot. Our anxious young master admits he understands the logic, but explains how dangerous this could be by imagining a scenario where he bumps into a punk on the street. who threatens him, which is usually just talk. But depending on Cossack's interpretation, the result could be another head with a ribbon. Juhyuk is stressed out by the idea of endless ribbons. Cossack kneels apologetically, accepting that it was his fault. Juhyuk sternly tells him that murdering people doesn't help him and could actually get him into serious trouble, but Cossack says no one will ever know and admits, I can't promise that, when asked not to do it again. Juhyuk sighs in resignation. He tells Cossack he can go now, but Cossack casually asks if he's considered the tower. Our tower-avoiding hero clenches his fist, admitting that climbing it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but he's honestly too scared because it's dangerous and he could die. Cossack mentions those who are strong and brave. Juhyuk, looking down, feels ashamed, acknowledging that while others save the world with their awakened abilities, he simply doesn't have the courage to risk his life. Cossack confronts him, telling him he knows, and then smiles broadly, grabbing Juhyuk by the shoulders. He explains that summons can't come outside if their summoner dies, which makes Juhyuk finally understand the mechanics. Cossack laughs loudly, then advises Juhyuk, "You just lay low and live a long, long life, summoner Bong." Our gacha boy realizes he was too busy worrying about whether to climb the tower at all. He decides he should just be grateful his debt disappeared along with the debt collectors, and move on. He resolves to just work a safe, normal job, believing if he works hard, everything will get better. Then his phone rings, and he answers, looking worried as someone asks about their rehab, and he reassures them not to worry too much. He tells them to take it easy, hanging up with a blank expression. Now in construction gear, holding a baseball bat, Juhyuk considers summoning someone else instead, thinking he might even get a legendary super rare grade this time. He suddenly halts. He wants to try summoning someone else, but a digital screen reveals there's a cooldown of a whole month. In the end, Cossack materializes in front of him. Juhyuk nervously greets him, hoping Cossack doesn't know he tried to summon someone else, while Cossack cheerfully responds, asking if he's ready to bravely enter the tower, then retracts it, saying Juhyuk shouldn't be brave and adds that he's just going to get a taste and get out, calling it a wise decision. Cossack playfully knocks aside Juhyuk's baseball bat. Juhyuk just agrees, looking nervous. System prompt appears, asking if he wishes to enter Korea's Black Tower, currently accessible up to floor 1. Suddenly, a bright energy beam descends from the sky, enveloping our wimpy summoner, who screams in terror, as a dark-clad figure grabs him and pulls them both through a digital energy portal. They arrive inside the first floor of the Black Tower, which is a complete wasteland, leaving our reluctant hero feeling intensely anxious and sick to his stomach. But the unknown warrior just pats his back, asking if he's good, and then pushes him out of the safe zone. Suddenly, a blue aura surrounds our gacha boy as his traits and combat skills become available, and his physical abilities are enhanced to match his level, making him feel surprisingly strong, even at level 1. A blue quest window appears, revealing their mission to eliminate 5 tough-skinned fat maggots within 2 hours, and Juhyuk can see the giant worm-like creatures ahead. Our timid tower player hears that some players struggle to kill even one of these in 30 minutes, despite their low damage. Clenching his fist, Juhyuk reminds himself that he's a player now, but then he sees a massive worm-like monster, realizing the challenge ahead, and decides it's time to borrow some power from Cossack. As a glowing green monster looms behind him, our wimpy summoner looks nervous, clutching his arm and sweating in fear. Cossack just gives a thumbs up, announcing his intention as he lunges toward the beast. John Cossack strikes the monster with a glowing blue ability, shouting for our gacha boy to stand back, then prepares for combat with glowing blue blades on his hands, unleashing a barrage of projectiles that send the tough-skinned maggots flying and exploding around him like popcorn bursting in a hot pan. He casually walks through the destruction, leaving Juhyuk surprised and amazed. Our wimpy summoner floats joyfully as a system message announces the first floor mission is complete. He has leveled up, received a 100G mana stone, and earned an S++ rank with a platinum badge. Meanwhile, various people across Korea, including a sharp-eyed woman and a tattooed man, are watching the system windows, realizing that if this unknown player keeps achieving S++ ranks, they're going to get rich. A reluctant hero and John Cossack return straight home to their kitchen after clearing the first floor, and Juhyuk nervously checks his phone, realizing the whole ordeal only took 5 minutes. Juhyuk admits he just stood there and did nothing, but Cossack gives a thumbs up, explaining that's exactly what he ought to do, since the mission that usually takes players forever to complete until exhaustion was way too easy. Bong Juhyuk stares at the mana stone and platinum badge, holding up the glowing mana stone for inspection, thrilled that it's his first time seeing one in person. The mana stone glows with a soft blue light. Later, while eating, our gacha boy is delighted to realize he made 50,000 won in just 3 minutes, and the table is covered with delicious food, but he can still smell something spicy. Cossack enthusiastically thanks him, declaring, "Again, I am grateful for THY kindness," which Juhyuk tries to downplay, thinking about the influence of Cossack's former summoner. Cossack, looking apologetic, offers, "If it doth bother thee, I shall cease forthwit," making Juhyuk laugh and declare that he's sure of something now. A reluctant hero watches Cossack eat with a satisfied expression, realizing he's not dangerous at all, and instead this whole tower climbing thing is actually doable. Our gacha boy then looks at a pie chart titled, A Real Man's Daily Routine, deciding to quit being a day laborer and instead work at the convenience store during the day and the charcoal barbecue spot at night. As Cossack joyfully exclaims over another perfect score, our wimpy summoner, looking quizzical, asks if the satisfaction rating is really that important, and Cossack explains that it increases the summon's time or rank. Then they enter the second floor of the Black Tower, and our reluctant hero looks surprised and anxious as a mission window appears, tasking them with eliminating 10 nimble fat maggots within 2 hours. John Cossack, smiling and making a peace sign, vows that death isn't an option, promising to finish the second floor quickly and escort our timid tower player home. Which Juhyuk casually adds, beer too. Cossack lunges forward like a sprinter blasting off the blocks, energy flowing from him, striking the monsters with magical light that causes them to explode, and our gacha boy reacts in shock, proclaiming, "This is insane, just insane," as another system box confirms the second floor mission complete, revealing another S++ rank and reward. Cossack stands with his hand on his hip, declaring to Juhyuk as he lands, "Your landing was slow." Our timid summoner has a sudden, shocked realization as he stares at his player status. His system now allows for 2 concurrent summons, which means he can bring another hero with him. And with John Cossack already soloing everything, those S++ clear rewards are really starting to stack up. Our gacha master excitedly thinks that while Cossack can already handle things, another summon would just be safer for the long term. But with over 20 days left on his random summon cooldown, he focuses on surviving carefully until then. He already envisions the 3 of them. No, he corrects himself. While he slacks off, the 2 summons will keep clearing S++ floors, hitting the 6th floor tomorrow. As his ambitions climb, a drone flies over the city, and elsewhere, a woman and a man in suits are in an office, discussing their work, with Jian Guangil wondering if they should post an announcement in the morning, evening, or late at night. His colleague Lee Mina leans in close, prompting him to shout that she needs to stop prying into people's minds, though she admits she just can't help being curious. Lee Mina then exclaims in surprise, looking at a projection of the tower, while Jian Guangil expresses concern that the Black Tower's full announcements are coming one after another, with unbelievable S++ clears. Definitely from a single person clearing floors 1 to 5 in order. Our cautious climber, completely unaware, thinks about clearing the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th floors, and what it means if every clear is an S++. Back in the office, Park Kyung-soo slams his hand down on a desk in frustration, telling Jian Guangil and Lee Mina that they only just learned there were ranks beyond what they knew, and now kidnappings are even secretly taking place, which he explains with a map showing red arrows spreading from Korea's center. He stares intently, the implications clearly weighing on him. 2 days later, our assassin hero, John Cossack, is washing dishes, effortlessly clearing 1 floor a day, while our gacha master watches, content with his hero's work, and soon the 2 are walking through a dense, foggy forest in the 8th floor. Their mission is to defeat 10 red thorn frog warriors, and one of the creatures immediately extends its thorny tongue towards them, but a glowing blade swiftly appears in the dark. John Cossack leaps through the air, carving through several frog warriors with practiced ease. Flurry of system boxes announce their mission completion, a level up, a mana stone, healing potions, and an S++ rank, awarding them a platinum badge. Our timid tower player looks concerned, telling Cossack he didn't even do anything, puts his hands together thoughtfully, reminding himself not to let his guard down, since the later levels after the 10th floor are apparently no joke, but then realizes they cleared it in 3 minutes again and wonders if Cossack deserves a reward. He even pulls out his wallet, holding a 50,001 note. But our gacha master looks shocked as John Cossack pushes his hands forward, refusing the money, declaring, "I can't leave your side, Bong Joohyuk." Instead, Cossack, now wearing a ridiculous chicken head costume, smiles brightly and asks if they should order some chicken. Juhyuk agrees, and the 2 sit on the floor watching TV, our assassin hero still in his costume. A cautious climber then thinks he should probably give the healing potion to Cossack, and wonders what to do with all his mana stones, now that he has 3.6 kilograms in his inventory, which is about 1.8 million won if he sells them. As he puts on a jacket, he thinks it's time to start cashing those in, mumbling that he really wants to quit his part-time job. He recounts how yesterday, even raiding the 9th floor's jungle cannibal corpse flower was a breeze for Cossack, of course not for him, and now clearing the floor is a given, with the S++ clear reward just a bonus. He imagines himself in a suit, raising a champagne glass in a toast to Cossack's skills, calling it sweet, or rather, reassuring. Our assassin hero makes a heart shape with his hands above his head, declaring, "You can only trust me," as the system registers his satisfaction at a maximum score, increasing his devotion time by an hour. which our gacha master reacts to with delighted exclamations, thinking it's absolutely worth giving him the highest score. As they walk towards a hexagonal energy field in a dense forest, our timid tower player can definitely feel the change on the 10th floor, as his physical abilities are enhanced to match his level, and traits and combat skills are now available. He glows with purple energy around his abdomen, feeling the tower's readjustment and the overflowing power and mysterious magic in his lower abdomen, making him wonder if he, Bong Juhyuk, has become an untamable wild horse. He bravely calls out to Cossack, reassuring him with a horse head now imposed on his own that he's already a wild horse, but then he looks shocked and tense, causing ground tremors, thinking he absolutely has to act this time. He stands in fear before a massive glowing barrier, still with his horse head, and then a terrifying, giant green praying mantis monster emerges from the shadows, making him gasp, that's a 10th floor monster. Sweating in pure terror, he wonders how other players even manage to catch something like that. Cossack stands tall and confident, unfazed, but Juhyuk, looking small and anxious, internally feels his pride hurt. The giant mantis monster's face is a horror with glowing eyes, while our gacha master's chibi form appears, cheering with pom-poms, leaving the fighting to his hero. The mantis monster attacks with its massive blades, dwarfing Cossack, but our assassin hero dashes past them with incredible speed and agility, like a blur through the air. His intense, focused gaze with glowing blue eyes lands a precise strike. Cossack maneuvers around the giant mantis amid bright blue energy trails, effortlessly avoiding its every move. Then, with a final decisive strike, Cossack declares the mission complete, as a notification confirms their success. They receive an additional kilogram of mana stones, bringing their total to 5.5 kilograms. Our cautious climber also earns a gleaming platinum badge, receiving a bonus now that he's obtained 5 of them. He looks excited and curious, wondering what the perk will be, when Cossack raises a finger, looking surprised as he asks if the skill copy popped up. Cossack then explains that the skill is convenient for running away. Even if something happens to Juhyuk, he can escape secretly and quickly. Our timid tower player looks offended and determined, demanding to know what kind of person Cossack thinks he is, wondering if he's the type to run away just to save his own skin. Cossack gestures enthusiastically, explaining that quick footwork is extremely, very, and really important in combat, adding that footwork is the key to a good fight. Now with the shadow step skill, our gacha master practices in his room, appearing in 2 places at once, wondering if it'll work in real life. But he ends up exhausted, sprawled on the floor, complaining there's no consistency at all, while Cossack dryly dismisses it. Our cautious climber then nervously calls the Awakening Management Department, introducing himself as Bong Juhyuk, looking flustered as he continues the conversation. And sitting on his floor, he gives them his address. After finishing the call, he's drained, sitting on his floor, letting out a heavy sigh. Meanwhile, a woman in a professional suit walks across a building plaza toward a car, and inside the car, she discusses the awakened individual who contacted them from Daegu yesterday. Her male colleague listens intently as they ride. The man looks serious, signaling the importance of their mission. Back home, our timid tower player is furiously cleaning his room, scrubbing the floor and organizing his space in anxious anticipation. Then a knock at the door, and a voice announces they are from the Awakening Management Department, making Juhyuk anxious and surprised. He stands by the doorway, welcoming the 2 visitors into his cramped apartment. He stands nervously, gesturing at them, thinking there's a woman here too, making him even more nervous. The female visitor leans in extremely close, making our gacha master blush and gasp at the proximity. She stares intently at a startled Bong Juhyuk, then finally says, "THES++. A man from the Awakening Management Department confronts our wimpy summoner, asking if he's the S++ record holder, which startles Juhyuk, making him panic and wonder if there's some awakened detection method he doesn't know about. He quickly internalizes a plan to deny it, smiling robotically and claiming he's only heard of such a person. But before the agent can press further, his colleague suddenly slaps him across the face, insisting he be more careful, leaving our nervous player feeling incredibly awkward. While the agents sort themselves out, a cute tower mascot named Tavi appears, explaining the Black Tower. Yet black, ominous, and overwhelmingly massive, these towers appeared all over the world overnight 20 years ago, repelling all attempts to study them, and they function like a game where players advance through floors. Inside, players wield powerful abilities and upgrade their equipment, even contributing greatly to the global economy. However, the towers are also incredibly dangerous, like when Mumbai disappeared 3 years ago. Luckily for Korea, they only have one, located in the mountains of Gangwon Province. Korea's Black Tower is making steady progress, having cleared the 65th floor, just one behind the US. Just as humanity once explored a new world, they are now exploring the Black Tower, so Tavi invites everyone to become an official player. Back at the interrogation, our gacha boy is asked about his tower activity and what he reached, and he nervously pulls out a pile of mana stones, admitting he's been raiding. When he blurts out the 10th floor, which is the exact S++ record, the agents look on in shock, their suspicion immediately reignited. Our nervous player tries to deny the S++ again, robotically repeating that he doesn't know who this amazing player is. But the agents are clearly not buying it, noting his suspicious behavior. The agents then explain the difference between freelance players, who act as independent contractors, and elite players, who maintain a closer relationship with the government, with an obligation to clear higher floors. But in return, they receive benefits like personal protection outside the tower. Our timid tower player looks uneasy, flashing back to a chaotic scene of reporters hounding him, asking if he's a beta male or has any friends, realizing the nightmare of constant attention an elite player would face, which he hates with a passion. Despite the agent's offers, Joo-hyuk looks uneasy, claiming he has no talent. He politely declines the elite contract, preferring to stop at a reasonable floor for reasonable rewards, telling them he's already made up his mind. The female agent looks disappointed, judging him as ungrateful and someone who lacks the will to climb. They conclude he's not elite team material, and the male agent looks regretful. The male agent then suggests a last step to confirm his awakening, which Joo-hyuk immediately realizes is a subtle test to find out if he really achieved the S++ rank. But instead of taking the test, our reluctant hero simply stands up firmly from his chair, tells the agents to help themselves to drinks, and says he'll be off. The female agent watches him go, thinking he seems far too timid and subdued. The agents discuss the 11th floor mission, a fear test with a giant, monstrous centipede silhouette. And while the centipedes aren't particularly difficult to defeat, killing 100 of the hideous things is certainly a challenge. They confirm that someone just achieved an S++ rank on that floor, the male agent rubbing his eye, looking strained. Our gacha boy enters the 11th floor, and Cossack appears, commenting that it's another miss for his liking. John Cossack strikes a pose, ready to go. Joo-hyuk is disgusted to see the mission is to eliminate 100 long-tailed giant centipedes, and he instructs his SR rank assassin to hunt much slower, explaining that he'll unsummon him inside the tower after. Our wimpy summoner revels in his plan to escape the S++ clear's net with terrible records. Cossack begins battling the centipedes, and Joo-hyuk shouts at him to hunt them slower. Cossack agrees, and the hunting speed noticeably drops. Our wimpy summoner, thinking his plan is easy, suddenly finds himself terrified and stuck on the back of a giant centipede. He panics, unable to move or use a skill, with centipedes surrounding him, forcing Cossack to leap into action. Cossack sharply glances at Joo-hyuk, then immediately slashes through the centipedes, clearing them too fast for Joo-hyuk's plan. Joo-hyuk falls nearby as Cossack attacks. The centipedes are destroyed by Cossack's assault. A reluctant hero lands on the ground in shock. He yells at Cossack for going too fast, but Cossack shouts back, explaining he's going as slow as possible since it was an order, demonstrating his dangerously literal obedience. Back in the office, the agents are stunned when an S++ rank announcement for the 11th floor pops up. They look at the screen in shock as our wimpy summoner appears from the tower in a shimmering blue aura, the S++ notification glowing around him. The manager and another agent look on, wondering what's going on, as they realize the S++ rank for the 11th floor clear appeared almost at the same time player Bong showed up. Joo-hyuk stares ahead with a stoic and intense expression, realizing they know his secret, and menacingly tells Cossack that these two will have to be silenced. Cossack lunges, and our wimpy summoner screams for him to stop, frantically telling Cossack to immediately bind them. Cossack strikes the figures, creating a visual effect of impact. Joo-hyuk reacts in horror, screaming at Cossack not to behead them. But the attacked agents are unharmed, just surprised with ribbons on their heads. They apologize, looking confused, and Joo-hyuk realizes it was all a paranoid nightmare, suddenly drenched in sweat. He nervously coughs, playing off his sudden fright as just being paranoid. He still tries to deny the S++ clear, calling it an amazing coincidence that it wasn't him. An agent hands him an envelope, and our profit-focused player reacts in shock, realizing it's an elite contract with benefits far beyond what he expected. The document lists an annual salary of 12 billion won, provided real estate, VVIP treatment, thorough security, and even immunity, making it seem like he'd be practically above the law. A reluctant hero has a wide-eyed, panicked expression as he realizes it's like being royalty. But with a distressed look, he still resists, yelling with his eyes closed and mouth wide open in frustration. He insists that he just doesn't like getting attention. Flashbacks show Joo-hyuk looking stressed in a clothing shop and then at a restaurant, explaining that receiving attention is a burden for him. An agent looks worried, thinking it's best to back down for now. Another agent explains that while anyone watching would be frustrated by his refusal, an elite contract comes with the responsibility to keep climbing. Our gacha boy knows that if he joins, he won't be able to quit climbing later, because the team exists solely to conquer unclimbable upper floors. He prefers to pass on that kind of pressure, happy just making a better living than before. In an office, a man sits at a desk while two agents brief him. He asks if Joo-hyuk is a timid player with no desire to climb, which they confirm. The man looks skeptical, admitting he doesn't understand, but one agent concludes Joo-hyuk's personality is simply unique. Flashback shows a serious man, and a bald manager shouts, insisting they get Joo-hyuk on the elite team no matter what, regardless of his timidity or talent. An agent looks serious as he says they absolutely will get him on the elite team, but in a flashback, Joo-hyuk is shouting an angry, frustrated no. In a snowy tower environment, Juhyuk fakes anger at Cossack, who apologizes, warning him that if he speeds up again, he'll be unsummoned immediately. They enter the 12th floor, a mission to eliminate 20 ice icicle spear weasels, and Juhyuk instructs Cossack to hunt them gently and slowly. Cossack promises to be polite and quick to answer, and Juhyuk plans that if they clear the 12th floor normally, the Awakening Management Department will lose interest. But our timid tower player starts shivering violently, complaining that even though he prepared, it's colder than he thought. Cossack says to just bear with it. He promises to finish as quickly as possible and escort Juhyuk to a warm room. Juhyuk tries to tell him to go slow, but Cossack ignores him, rushing forward to battle the ice weasels, declaring that colds are an incurable disease. Our wimpy summoner tries to remind him of his absolute obedience, but another S++ notification appears for the 12th floor. Meanwhile, two agents consult documents, discussing how the 13th floor might be difficult. Back in a warm room, Cossack checks on Juhyuk, who is on his phone promising him rest. Our gacha boy then unsummons Cossack, ready to watch some TV. He looks tearful and surprised, as he suddenly finds himself on the 13th floor, a corridor filled with traps. Cossack, still present, decides to carry Juhyuk to avoid getting him hurt. Cossack rapidly carries our reluctant hero through the corridor to avoid the traps. Cossack then fights off a swarm of giant eyeball bats, cutting through them like a relentless harvesting machine. He ignores Juhyuk's warning that even he will get hit by their sonic attacks, which Cossack mostly brushes off like annoying mosquitoes. Our timid tower player simply watches the battle with a stoic expression, thinking screw it, whatever happens, happens. Our profit-focused player calculates his earnings on his phone. 2.75 million for Mana Stone sales, 2 million for general player support. He's earned over 7 million KRW in 2 weeks. And if he reaches the 20th floor, he'll get 2 kilograms of Mana Stones as a reward. If the Awakening Management Department handles the sales, that's a pure 1 million won in daily income. Cossack collapses, summoned onto the floor. He looks confused. Juhyuk rubs his head in frustration, calculating that S++ on the 15th floor would bring 15 platinum badges. He realizes he's starting to get greedy, anticipating another special perk for stacking more badges, believing the more perks he has, the safer he'll be. He commands Cossack, who salutes. They are now on a new floor with humanoid goblins, and Juhyuk observes them from behind a tree, noting they're not strong but have some intelligence. Cossack smiles, ready for combat. Cossack then uses a stealth skill, striking goblins who die without even noticing it, making Juhyuk wonder if he can learn that later. Cossack completes the mission, and rewards appear. Juhyuk and Cossack watch the goblins. They then stand in a glowing blue portal area, having exited the tower, ready to challenge the 16th floor. Our wimpy summoner and Cossack materialize in a room, surrounded by fading blue energy trails. Juhyuk reaches out his hand toward a holographic system interface, excitedly noting that he now has a total of 15 platinum badges. He intensely focuses, anticipating his new power reward, recalling that 5 badges upgraded his trait, and 10 badges gave him a skill copy from his summon. Our timid tower player earns a new perk for his 15 platinum badges, an energy barrier kit that activates as full body armor. And to his delight, this isn't a tower-exclusive item, meaning he can use it in the real world too. Our gacha boy immediately calculates the monetary value of his new gear, briefly considering retirement before asking John Cossack if they can tackle floor 16. But Cossack's response leaves him confused, while his summon looks back at him, wondering what has him so flustered. Meanwhile, back at the Awakening Management Department, officials are frustrated by the 15-day lack of updates on player Bong, one banging his desk in irritation. But another insists our wimpy summoner hasn't given up, only for an employee to report his imminent arrival, which makes one official gasp, realizing our platinum player must be repeating floor 15 to raise funds for items, and another official slams his desk, scrambling to offer our hero low-cost support. Back with our nervous nuke, he asks John Cossack to test his new energy barrier by simply stabbing him with a dagger, an utterly bizarre request that leaves Cossack utterly shocked and flustered, insisting it's just a little stab, but Cossack yells back, "I didn't hear anything." Frustrated, our wimpy summoner tries to stab himself to test the barrier, but he forgets to activate it, causing Cossack to panic and beg to chop off his evil arm, until Juhyuk tells him to calm down and get back to hunting. While Cossack swiftly clears the monster-filled forest, our platinum player decides to use the time to practice his shadow step technique, hiding in the bushes to focus, then intensely executes his new ability, dashing forward with a burst of blue energy, and pauses to process the feeling of movement, realizing the profound utility of the skill, and why Cossack insisted he learn it first. Suddenly, our reluctant hero stops, spotting a small, screeching goblin that was clearly hiding, making him gasp in surprise, and wonder if it was trying to avoid Cossack. before the monster screams and charges, forcing our barrier boy to instinctively manifest his energy barrier, kicking the creature back, just as John Cossack arrives like a blur. Cossack swiftly strikes down the goblin, complimenting our hero on his nice pass. Must have played SOME soccer. Huh! Dashing through the air with magical energy and landing directly in front of him, then aggressively sniffing him to check for injuries before launching into a lecture. Have I not told you again and again? You mustn't fly too close to the sun, Summoner Bong. Our wimpy summoner calls the player shop, and despite his protests, reluctantly agrees to wait, only to be picked up in a limousine, receiving full VIP treatment upon arrival at the Awakening Management Department, where a smiling team leader greets him, welcoming him with open arms. And after registering his vain information, he steps into a shockingly luxurious player shop, with his hand outstretched and glowing, making him wonder if the items are expensive. And deciding to sell his mana stones first, Platinum Player quickly sells his mana stones, finding shopping a drag, while Director Park is updated on his browsing, and a man in a suit looks on, before our reluctant hero excitedly picks up an adamant mace for 2,000,000 won, inspecting his new weapon, but shouts in internal distress that nothing is free, realizing that while perks like the energy barrier unify his defense, he's also finding himself growing greedy for more. Back in his room, our gacha boy summons John Cossack for floor 15, but then looking nervous, he initiates a random summon for what comes next, praying to every deity imaginable before a bright light erupts as he shouts, "Our random summon," revealing a glowing figure that makes him pause in shock, then stare in utter horror. Just what the heck did I summon? Instantly regretting MY security deposit. After that chaotic summon, our gacha boy has one question on his mind as the new hero manifests with crackling purple energy, and a giant, bandaged foot slams down, making him shriek in panic at the sight of the massive barbarian, whose glowing eyes make Juhyuk wonder if he's a human or a monster. Before our timid tower player can even process it, John Cossack, our unhinged assassin, lunges through the air like a spring uncoiling, kicking the barbarian with a blinding flash, and barraging him with kicks while Juhyuk watches nervously, realizing the two seem to know each other. But the barbarian barely flinches, finding the attacks ticklish. Cossack, not one to be outdone, whips out his dual blades, vowing to take the barbarian's head and even adorn it with a pretty ribbon. He descends with a lethal strike, forcing Bong Juhyuk to shout for him to stop, and our wimpy summoner pleads, reminding Cossack that one broken ceiling is more than enough and asking him to step aside for a moment. Cossack, ever the dramatic one, explains to Juhyuk that this new guest is infamous for being an idiot who probably doesn't even know the 3 principles of the summoned. The barbarian looks utterly confused, trying to count principles on his fingers, and Bong Juhyuk, looking stressed, confesses he also doesn't remember such rules. When the system window finally pops up, revealing an R rank, our gacha boy is disappointed, lamenting that it's the lowest rank he can draw. He even considers waiting a month to draw again, hoping for a better summon. Trying to salvage the situation, Bong Juhyuk sits the tattooed, shirtless barbarian down for an interview, asking his name, why he's here, or anything about the tower. But the barbarian only responds with blank stares, leading Juhyuk to exclaim his frustration. He decides to read the detailed description, but a jolt of crackling magic pulls him into a portal. And just like with Cossack, our reluctant hero finds himself inside the barbarian's memories, surrounded by a sunny, grassy landscape. In this memory, the giant barbarian is happily mesmerized by butterflies, finding them pretty. But his peaceful moment is shattered when massive, glowing-eyed wolves attack, though the barbarian just effortlessly grapples with them, treating it all as a game. Then Arius, a man with blonde hair, appears, smiling down at the barbarian and noting his enormous size. He asks the barbarian's name, but gets the familiar response of not knowing or remembering. The memory fast-forwards to the barbarian battling a multi-headed hydra as Arius and his guards watch, and our beefy barbarian, already bloodied and dissolving, tears off its heads. Arius laughs over the barbarian's skeletal remains, mockingly stating, "H-A-H-A-H-A, what an idiot. Thanks H-A-H-A, we easily won because of you." Back in the present, Bong Juhyuk looks down with a determined expression, deciding that his intelligence didn't matter. He warmly welcomes the large barbarian, gesturing for him to join, vowing they will climb the tower together. First order of business, a name, with our wimpy summoner offering a choice between Barbar and Meatball. He reaches out to shake his hand, and the barbarian, looking slightly confused, takes the name Meatball. Bong Juhyuk then asks for his trust, and the newly named Meatball responds, "Meatball trusts summoner." John Cossack is utterly distressed by this turn of events, while a light bulb appears over Juhyuk's smiling head. The two decide to enter the 16th floor right away, with Cossack declaring he'll teach Meatball well, and Juhyuk readily agreeing. As they prepare, John Cossack kicks Meatball, annoyed by his imitation and telling him to stop copying him. He then assesses their ragtag team as a timid, pathetic player, a mad assassin, and a rather simple-minded meat shield. The trio materializes on the 16th floor of the Black Tower, where their physical abilities are enhanced to match their level, and traits and combat skills become available, a combination that sounds like a total disaster on paper. But our reluctant hero jumps with new empowerment, ready to make this work. Their mission is revealed. Eliminate 30 goblin scouts within 5 hours, and Cossack instructs Juhyuk to activate his energy barrier and be ready to use Shadow Step. Juhyuk confirms he's got it as they walk through the forest, unknowingly watched by goblins hiding in the trees. Suddenly, a glowing spear tip appears, and a goblin scout takes aim, launching a spear with high velocity, which John Cossack intercepts in midair, protecting Bong Juhyuk, who reacts in shock. The group realizes they're caught in an ambush, with many goblins hiding in the forest. Cossack quickly defends against the incoming spear attacks, shielding Juhyuk. Our gacha boy reacts in shock to the overwhelming numbers, realizing they were waiting, and there are easily more than 50. Just as a large hand reaches out toward him in the chaos, and glowing monstrous eyes appear in the dark, the simple-minded powerhouse leaps into the air and slams onto the ground, sending a powerful shockwave that sends goblins scattering in fear. Meatball slashes through multiple goblins, then looks up at a massive shadow, performing another ground slam attack that scatters even more goblin enemies, sending another summoned fighter flying backward through the air. Bong Juhyuk watches the battle unfold from behind a rock, utterly shocked by Meatball's physical prowess against them. Goblins desperately play instruments trying to buff their allies, but Meatball stands completely unfazed by their attacks, simply saying, "Done work. Tickles." He strikes multiple goblin enemies simultaneously, delivering a powerful blow that sends green slime and debris flying. Our wimpy summoner, watching this incredible display, questions if this barbarian warrior is truly only R rank, deducing that for combat prowess alone, he's at least an SR or even SSR, and perhaps his low rank is only because of his intelligence. Later, a hand reaches into a box of fried chicken, and our beefy barbarian joyfully eats it with his hands, excitedly calling it kitchen, as Bong Juhyuk praises him for his amazing work. Another summoned fighter tries the chicken but finds it too spicy, and Bong Juhyuk looks surprised, while John Cossack, correcting Meatball's pronunciation, snaps, "It's chicken, not Kitchan, you dumbass." Bong Juhyuk reacts in shock as Cossack's hand aggressively enters the frame, and he argues with Cossack for bothering Meatball, who was just enjoying his food, pleading they were having a touching moment, to which Cossack apologizes, but then justifies his actions, claiming Meatball needed education and was hogging the food. Suddenly, a system interface announces their entry into the 17th floor of the Black Tower, once again enhancing their physical abilities to match their new level. A reluctant hero examines his muscular arms, feeling an uncontrollable surge of power as he levels up, and an unknown warrior with a horse-like head expresses his excitement about joining the fray. But John Cossack and Meatball stand before our newly confident leader, declaring that level 20 is perfect for complacency, and that they will lead and protect him. Bong Juhyuk observes the massive group of goblin warriors, noting that he didn't realize how intimidating they were from walkthrough videos, and seeing them in person reveals at least 90 skilled enemies, proficient in strategy and tactics. He recalls the strategy guide he watched: retreat to a safe zone, wait for their forces to scatter, then lure and kill them in groups of 3 without drawing aggro. But our beefy barbarian interrupts his thoughts, asking, "Summoner calling me?" And Bong Juhyuk, signaling for Meatball to charge, realizes he has no need for such a troublesome process. Meatball powers up, ready for battle as Juhyuk's confidence soars, believing he can easily reach the 20th floor, possibly even higher. Our newly confident leader orders his summon to wipe them all out, already anticipating his next perk. As our wimpy summoner steps onto the 17th floor, he finds himself facing a literal army of goblin warriors. But Meatball, our muscle-bound barbarian, is ready for action, asking, "Summoner call me?" With a serious expression, our quick-witted master points forward and commands his new powerhouse to wipe them all out. Meatball, eager for battle, immediately prepares to launch himself, crashing into the goblin ranks with a powerful grunt. Goblin warrior charges with a shout, only for Meatball to effortlessly deflect multiple spears thrown his way, then punch through the enemy lines, sending goblins flying everywhere. Our muscle-bound barbarian is clearing the field like a human bowling ball. Our gacha boy watches in awe, a little nervous but mostly impressed, thinking Meatball is performing insanely well. He realizes that strategy only matters when the weight classes are similar, explaining, "It's like thousands of rental bikes trying to attack a KZ Black Panther tank." This overwhelming display earns our cautious strategist an S++ rank for the 17th floor, along with a shiny new platinum badge. Moving on to the 18th floor, the mission changes to eliminating goblin assassins, and our quick-witted master simply tells Meatball to go, explaining that these monsters surprisingly use stealth skills. Meatball quickly finds himself confused as invisible enemies strike his arms, leaving our wimpy summoner a little nervous in the background. Frustrated, Meatball wildly swings his arms, yelling for the cowardly assassins to come out. Suddenly, John Cossack, our deranged assassin, appears, boasting and posing, ready to show off his skills. He uses a shadow step to zip through the forest, declaring that goblin stealth can't even catch up to his toes. He rapidly attacks, dispatching multiple goblins in a blur of motion. Our gacha boy watches, feigning surprise before revealing his true thoughts, Cossack, you fell for it. Cossack insults Meatball, telling him to move it and asking why he's not helping more, as he also wants to contribute to the fight. Meanwhile, our cautious strategist focuses on a magical glow from his hand, revealing that he's already around level 18. He unleashes his long-hidden skill, calling forth his wild horse release skill. He confidently states that he checked all the strategy info before entering the 18th floor, knowing the goblin assassin's stealth skill is low level, so he can detect their movements if he concentrates. He adds that there's nothing to be afraid of, since he practiced shadow step enough while repeating the 15th floor. But then a spectral goblin appears behind him, catching him off guard, and he yells in surprise, losing his balance entirely. Suddenly, a weapon strikes the goblin in the head, stopping its attack. Our wimpy summoner stands over the defeated goblin, glowing staff in hand, smiling confidently and announcing that the 18th floor hunt was successful. John Cossack cheers, while continuing to fight off more assassins, with goblin heads flying through the air. Meatball, our big barbarian, jumps away from a massive incoming punch, then slams his glowing fists into the ground with immense force. The shockwave blasts goblins backward, leaving them scattered. Cossack dodges more goblins and yells at Meatball to help more, telling him he's in the way. He then looks around confused, wondering where Sumner Bong is. Meanwhile, our gacha boy gasps as he dodges a flying dagger, sweating and clutching his head, realizing how dangerous that would have been if not for his energy barrier. He skillfully dodges another diving goblin, wondering if it's because of the adrenaline rush, as his eyes glow with intense energy. He leaps through the air, perceiving the movement of the goblin's blade in slow motion, feeling like the world has slowed down around him. With that final move, our reluctant hero once again achieves an S++ rank for the 18th floor, earning another platinum badge. Meatball, still searching, calls out for Sumner Bong. Our quick-witted master looks at his blue interface screen with a surprised expression, realizing he got the last hit. Meatball kneels in exhaustion, clearly worn out from the fight. Back in the real world, a female official looks alarmed as a global announcement appears, spreading the news of an unprecedented streak of S++ rank clears. A bald man in a suit remarks that this player is unstoppable and definitely prepared thoroughly, while others discuss the danger of his identity being revealed, even as they express pride in him. The news anchor reports on the 18 consecutive S++ rank clears after a 20-day hiatus. Cossack sighs, explaining to our gacha boy that this is an unprecedented record, rewriting tower climbing history, and the entire nation is interested in the S++ player's identity. Our cautious strategist listens intently to his summoned hero, who then tells him that the speed at which he's realizing his talent is impressive. Our wimpy summoner points at himself in confusion, asking about the talent. He then claps his hands dismissively, insisting they are joking. Cossack internally frets, thinking about the shadow step our quick-witted master showed at the end, realizing it was a perfect movement even he would struggle to mimic, which makes it even more dangerous. He then directly tells our reluctant hero that it's the truth, reminding him of their promise from the start. Our gacha boy looks nervous as Cossack grips his shoulders, promising he absolutely won't do anything dangerous. But our cautious strategist still feels uneasy about the whole situation. Cossack, sweating with anxiety, wails and grips his head, lamenting, "Oh, you are summoner. Feels like an accident someday." Our gacha boy's apartment is a disaster zone, as John Cossack cries hysterically, wailing that his summoner feels like an accident waiting to happen, while a massive summoned warrior just mocks him for bawling his eyes out, then lunges in a rage, yelling he's going to boil Cossack alive in a pot. The warrior slams into the fridge instead, completely destroying it, and our wimpy summoner screams in distress over his ruined kitchen, pleading for them both to stop destroying his house and go back to where they came from. He then mourns over a spilled container of kimchi, which his mom had given him. Looking out at the urban sunset, our anxious hero decides to visit his parents tomorrow to clear his head, and the next morning, he's walking up the stairs to their apartment. He happily announces his arrival at their door, and enters to hear his mother inviting him in. His parents are sitting on a hospital bed right in their living room, nagging him to visit more often, while also telling each other to stop nagging their busy son. Our cautious climber helps his father lie back down, telling him to just keep resting. He then asks where his brother is, before the family sits down to a steaming hot pot for dinner. His mother reassures him that she'll find work again soon, and his father tells him not to worry about them, just to live his own life well. But our stressed master eats a spoonful of rice, clearly anxious and thinking about sending them money. He pauses, startled, wondering if he should have been more subtle. Then his whole family bursts out laughing. He stutters, explaining that today is his day off, and that he actually quit everything a while ago. But his mother cuts him off, stating plainly, "Son, your face shows when you're lying, you know." Juhyuk immediately denies it, asking what she means. His mother just gives him a knowing smile. Our gacha boy coughs violently, recalling a news report, a memory he had almost forgotten. as he insists that his mother's words can't be true. He then remembers his mother holding a dog and glaring fiercely, as she asks if she could just stand by and watch injustice. His father then reminisces about his greatest achievement being asking his mom out on a date, confirming that his wife is aggressive and brave, with a personality that can't stand injustice. Our cautious climber chats with his brother, saying everyone must be worried, and they should talk about his awakening after the situation settles down. But his brother looks surprised, holding money in his hand, asking what it's for. His brother turns back to look at him, telling him to wait. He scratches his head, thinking Joo-hyuk must be acting like this because he paid his tuition last time. Our anxious hero then puts a hand on his brother's shoulder, thinking he's too shy to say thank you. He touches his brother's head, saying he can speak comfortably now, then asks if something feels missing after paying their mom's and dad's allowances. His brother scowls, a tick mark appearing on his head at the cheeky request. Our wimpy summoner just smiles cheerfully. Later, he stands before the large Seoul Hanamdong Awakening Management Department building. He looks up thoughtfully, admitting he came here on a whim. But after seeing his family, the thought of doing this properly grew bigger. Inside, an official gestures, reminding people to contact him in advance if they visit the player shop. But Joo-hyuk thinks it should be fine. He considers his energy barrier, but knows monsters will get stronger as he goes up the floors. So it'd be best to buy a shield. However, he looks shocked as a female shop employee tells him the price. 100 million won, and he gasps, "Oh, 100 million!" He walks into the busy shop, thinking the prices are damn expensive, and wonders why there are so many people today when it was empty last time, and why he's so bad at speaking to female employees. The employee presents a small round shield, explaining it's made of an adamantium and sectonium alloy, small and light, and has a self-repair function, inviting him to try it on. Our gacha boy examines the shield, thinking it suits him so well it's a set with his mace, and he really likes it. He gets adorably embarrassed as he thinks about it. He scans his hand, completing the payment for 40 million won. He imagines the female employee looming over him like a boss, lamenting that talking to staff is way harder than dealing with goblins. Our anxious hero looks nervous, thinking he can finally go home. But then Choi Hosak leans against a wall and asks if he hasn't been awakened for long. Choi Hosak extends a hand, introducing himself as a player, and our hero shakes his hand. Joo-hyuk introduces himself as they shake, and Hosak laughs, saying he comes to the shop every day and wanted to get acquainted. He then asks what floor Joo-hyuk is on, revealing he's climbing the 30s, to which our cautious climber admits he's only in the 10s, feeling a bit overwhelmed by Hosak's high level. Choi Hosak laughs kindly, making our wimpy summoner feel comfortable, and offers help if he ever faces difficulties. He then points, saying it's a relief and to ask him anything next time. Choi Hosak waves goodbye, displaying the bold interpersonal infiltration ability of an insider, as Joo-hyuk thinks. Our gacha boy checks his status menu, displaying his name, affiliation, and a whopping level 19. He's pleased with his new level. Meanwhile, John Cossack looks distressed and flustered, muttering about loyalty and thanks for the rating. Our anxious hero proudly shows Cossack the new shield he just bought, telling him to look at it, and that Cossack must be enjoying this, even with a shield. Cossack sighs, asking if Joo-hyuk really has to do this, but Joo-hyuk reassures him that he'll prioritize safety as much as possible, just like Cossack's former summoner. He looks excited and determined. Our cautious climber then kneels and holds Cossack's hands, making a promise, and adding, "Preferably, I think it'd be better to sacrifice that bastard meatball instead of me." Cossack looks comically distressed, acknowledging the order. Later, our gacha boy sits at a small table eating with Cossack, who holds a dumpling with chopsticks. Cossack enthusiastically eats a dumpling, saying he will eat well. Joo-hyuk stuffs a whole dumpling into his mouth with his chopsticks. Suddenly, a door stands slightly ajar in the dark room, and our wimpy summoner looks panicked and alert, sensing an overflowing killing intent. Quickly tells Cossack to hide as a blue energy barrier surrounds him, and Cossack appears ready to assist. Metallic projectile flies through the air, piercing the wall, and our anxious hero is on the floor, looking at the small metallic object that rolled toward him. An unknown man then stands in the doorway, holding a suppressed pistol, and casually greets them. Our cautious climber stares in terror, sweating profusely. The man with the gun smiles maniacally, points his weapon at our gacha boy, who is cowering on the floor, and snarls, "Who said you could speak? Do you want to die, you punk?" The gunman holds his pistol to Joo-hyuk's head, ordering him to take off his bracelet and open his inventory before his head becomes a beehive. Our hero screams in protest, asking what he's thinking, pointing that at him. But then John Cossack appears as a dark, red-eyed shadow behind the gunman, asking, "You think this is a joke? Huh?" Our wimpy summoner looks up at the standing gunman, thinking that attacking him is basically suicide. Our anxious summoner Bong Joo-hyuk finds himself kneeling in his own kitchen, a gunman pointing a pistol straight at him and taunting him for freezing up, planning to beat him into submission before forcing him to open his inventory. But before the gunman can finish his threats, a gauntleted hand strikes him from behind, revealing a summoned hero that the gunman didn't even know was there. The gunman instantly crumples to the floor, unconscious, as Meatball stands over him, leaving Juhyuk utterly shocked and barely able to process what just happened. Meatball, however, is a little bothered, asking our gacha guru if he really wanted to pick a fight with this guy, which Juhyuk sheepishly denies, even as he realizes the sheer power of his summons. He figures this unconscious assailant must be an item broker, a player who preys on others for their gear. Thinking back to the last chapter, our timid tower player realizes how vulnerable he would have been, left completely helpless and likely dead if he hadn't awakened his summoning ability outside the tower. The realization hits him like a lightning bolt again, reminding him just how much of a cheat skill this really is. Meatball, ever practical, offers to dispose of the guy outside, but Juhyuk quickly interjects, deciding they'll just report him to the police. Meanwhile, elsewhere, officials from the Awakening Management Department are in an uproar, as one agent discovers that player Bong somehow purchased a mace and shield without them knowing. They deduce he's a melee type and lament not getting him to sign an elite contract sooner, so they could deck him out properly. The agent's device glows, indicating a new development. Moments later, a different agent, Jeon Gwangil from the Awakening Management Department, reacts with shock to a phone call and is seen speeding through the city. He curses under his breath, determined to protect player Bong and regretting not getting that elite contract signed from the start. He arrives just as police officers are arresting Choi Hosak, who screams that he's the victim. But the officers seem to misunderstand the situation, with Juhyuk frantically trying to explain that Hosak was the one who broke in. The officers, confused, prepare to take Juhyuk into custody too, leaving him fearing he's going to prison. Suddenly, Jeon Gwangil bursts through the door, yelling for them to wait. Juhyuk looks on while Choi Hosak grins, thinking his rescuer has arrived. Choi Hosak, still on his knees, excitedly thanks the agent, believing he's been saved. However, Jeon Gwangil responds by punching Choi Hosak square in the face. Juhyuk flinches, confused, as Jeon Gwangil rounds on Choi Hosak, canceling his player registration for trying to kill a fellow player. Choi Hosak protests, claiming his high level makes him innocent, but the agent isn't listening, making Choi Hosak cough and beg him to stop. Jeon Gwangil looms over Choi Hosak, ignoring his pleas, looking completely disgusted. Choi Hosak's eye is wide with extreme fear. The tension is palpable as the true villain is unmasked. Jeon Gwangil warns that the NIS, Korea's intelligence service, won't hesitate to use torture for player-related crimes, and since Choi Hosak is a repeat offender, they'll uncover everything he's done. He instructs the police to ignore Choi Hosak if he tries to escape to the tower, and then, with a menacing red aura, turns to a kneeling Juhyuk and asks if he's hurt. Our timid tower player, terrified by the agent's intensity, promises he won't do it again, despite having done nothing wrong. Later, Jeon Gwangil bows formally, his intense eyes betraying his resolve. He declares he can't delay the elite contract any longer. He must protect player Bong. The next morning, Meatball in his chibai form salutes Juhyuk, asking if anything happened, and our reluctant boss explains that the police took the bad guy away thanks to him. Meatball then asks for the detention center's location, but Juhyuk quickly shuts him down, warning him not to even try to find out. Soon after, John Cossack, the barbarian Meatball, finds himself looking at stars, apparently counting 57 of them, marveling at seeing so many for the first time. The group faces goblin shamans in the tower, whose magic is limited to curses, binds, and weak fire arrows, and Meatball confidently leaps forward, like a dog charging its favorite toy, asking what there is to worry about. The shamans begin their dark red magical spells, but Meatball merely holds his breath. Then with a powerful shockwave, he blows away all the magical energy with a single shout. Juhyuk watches in open-mouthed shock, realizing the brute force behind Meatball's method. John Cossack, the assassin, moves past Meatball with blade in hand. He gives Meatball an intense smile, urging him to clear the area as fast as possible. Cossack and Meatball charge forward, slashing and tearing through the goblin shamans in a blur of motion. Juhyuk readies himself with his mace and shield, declaring he will also join the fight. But then a mission success message pops up as he watches his two summons walk away, the battle already over. Our wimpy summoner is exasperated, realizing they finished the mission quickly on purpose so he couldn't fight. Now the trio stands before a large, glowing geometric barrier for the much-anticipated 20th floor, known as the Talent Evaluator, with an atrocious difficulty. Juhyuk lists off the dangers: scouts with poison needles, max-level tactical warriors, stealth assassins, shamans, and huge hobgoblins, openly admitting how scary it is. Cossack advises our gacha guru to wait in a safe place, and Meatball agrees, telling him to do nothing while he kills all the enemies. Juhyuk looks upset, watching his summons prepare for combat, blocking his path and leaving him out of the fight again, despite the mission's 10-hour time limit and objectives. Meatball leaps into the air, confidently declaring he'll draw all the aggro. Goblin shamans and warriors prepare their magic and weapons for battle, but Juhyuk reacts with a shocked grin, unwilling to just sit back and take it. Instead, he leaps into the fray himself, attacking the enemies while Meatball is below him. Our anxious summoner is excited and surprised by his own successful action, laughing that he actually did it. One enemy character screams in frustration at his unexpected bravery. Our anxious summoner Bong Joo-hyuk reflects on his past, showing him as a young boy playing nervously with a toy car. A bully snatches the car, claiming it for himself, leaving young Joo-hyuk to simply watch without protest. He remembers a note attached to his school backpack, likely another taunt, and two students mocking him as he sat alone at his desk. His childhood was often spent eating lunch by himself in the cafeteria. He wonders if someone like him, who couldn't even make eye contact with delinquents, is truly fighting tower monsters now, admitting it's something he never imagined. But he rationalizes that monsters aren't people, so there's no fear stemming from social relationships. They're no different from game quest mobs. With intense determination, he tells himself he just needs to crush them and get the reward. In the thick of combat, an enemy with red hair screams in denial. A group of goblins attacks with long spears, but Joo-hyuk leaps and spins through the air, dodging their attacks. He glides, poised to land a blow. Then he smashes his mace directly into a goblin's face. Our gacha guru dashes around rapidly, striking multiple goblins in quick succession. He even leaps to strike a goblin, while another attacks him from behind. Mysterious character with red hair looks on in shock, marveling that Joo-hyuk is using Shadow Walker at such a low level. Suddenly, a summon warns our timid tower player to watch out, as projectiles rain down. Joo-hyuk grits his teeth, blocking multiple incoming projectiles with his shield. He realizes that without his energy barrier, he would have been turned into a pincushion by now. A reluctant boss sweats profusely, visibly terrified, wondering if he got too carried away. The red-haired summon urges Joo-hyuk to keep heading towards the cliff, and Joo-hyuk, yelling "Okay," complies, following the instructions. A large, muscular summon flexes, declaring its intent to protect its summoner. Joo-hyuk struggles, running out of stamina as he races toward the cliff edge. He stares in dismay at a rocky cliff face, asking if they're there yet. Then he cries out, devastated, realizing there's nothing there. He shields himself from goblin spears, pinned against the rock wall. Just as he fears he's going to die, a giant hand blocks the incoming spears. A massive summon looms over the goblins, who recoil in fear. The giant arm smashes down, crushing multiple goblins. An unseen attacker strikes from above, hitting goblins with a powerful energy beam. Two goblin shamans chant, preparing more magic attacks. The red-haired warrior slices through them with a blue energy blade, declaring that if he just takes care of the shamans on the cliff, it'll all be over. Joo-hyuk closes his eyes, waiting for something to happen. He's surprised to find the two summons cleared them in an instant, and he cringes behind a rock wall next to his massive summon, grateful but still a little scared. Suddenly, Joo-hyuk hears a loud, thunderous sound, realizing it's the hobgoblin, the final evolution stage of goblins, known as the long-legged idol for their short-legged kin. The red-haired warrior leaps through the air toward the horizon, yelling "Hobgoblin." He descends from the sky like a comet, screaming "Go Bang." A muscular summoned giant leaps down to intercept the advancing hobgoblin, essentially saying, "Leave it to me." The giant warrior clashes his sword against the hobgoblin's blade. The hobgoblin's face contorts in shock as the giant grabs its throat. The red-haired warrior then descends from the sky, striking downward. He drives his dual blades into the head of the giant blue hobgoblin, instantly defeating the boss. Our wimpy summoner congratulates his red-haired summon, reveling in the fact they took out a boss mob in an instant, and thinking it might be better to leave everything to them. His two summoned warriors bow low before him, pledging their loyalty and protection. A glowing silver crest appears, indicating the mission is cleared. Meanwhile, a news broadcast shows a black tower on a map of South Korea. Two agents in suits report to a bald man at a desk, confirming that Joo-hyuk's summons must be elite, and that's why they're being hidden so well to avoid other countries snatching them. The bald man reviews a folder held by an agent. Photograph shows Joo-hyuk's father, Bong Giljung, in a hospital bed. They discuss supporting him, with plans to introduce him to the best rehabilitation center. Next, they review Joo-hyuk's younger brother, Bong Min-hyuk, a university freshman scheduled to enlist soon. Finally, they discuss his mother, Ms. Hong Jumja, who is working as a water purifier coordinator, but is currently unemployed. A photograph shows her smiling in a workplace. The agents confirm their plans to support the family. One man in a suit declares they will proceed immediately in supporting player Bong's family. Suddenly, a loud knocking sounds. Back at Joo-hyuk's place, the large, muscular summoned hero squats down, telling our gacha guru to just stay still. Joo-hyuk drapes a cloth over the muscular summon to hide him from the food delivery person, while John Cossack stands in the background. The delivery person confirms the order, throwing in a single fried dumpling as a service item. Joo-hyuk stares miserably, thinking one fried dumpling is way too stingy for service. He then stares at the noodles in disbelief, asking if that isn't too much food for him alone. He laments that even if he had coupons, a person like him can't order food with coupons. Once the delivery person leaves, the assassin hero allows the muscular hero to come out from under the cloth, who exclaims how incredible the smell of jajang noodles is. The muscular hero, Gobang, drools over the food, seemingly never having tasted it before. Joo-hyuk scolds him, worried he'll eat the plate too, as the assassin hero looks on in horror. A reluctant boss then holds out his hand to summon a menu screen. A notification appears, displaying floating platinum badges, revealing he's accumulated 20 of them and wonders what perk he'll get this time. A bright light reveals a glowing gold random box, his new perk. Juhyuk looks at the golden box with wide, surprised eyes, questioning if it's really a random box. Inside, a drawing of a green frog wizard in a forest landscape is revealed, and the assassin hero screams with a wide, manic expression, telling our gacha guru to be grateful, as Juhyuk has pulled a cosmic celestial figure sitting on a throne, holding a sword and a planet. He's just pulled a literal god, as our gacha boy prepares to open his 20th platinum badge perk. A glowing loot box materializes, and he lets out a shocked UWA, overwhelmed by the sheer number of mysterious items and no idea what any of them are. Quickly scans the list, noting that generic weapons and armor aren't really the jackpot. But then he spots some tantalizing runes, wondering if a level-up rune would keep him on the same floor but make him stronger, or if a tower-jumping ticket would skip floors but lose the rewards, quickly deciding the level-up is far superior. Then he notices a multinational tower access ticket, which would let him explore towers in other countries, and starts to narrow down his best options. But his eyes fixate on a gold-rimmed grade confirmation summon ticket, which promises an SR, SSR, or even an LSSR summon. Our wimpy summoner immediately imagines himself riding a cart through a tower, casually clearing floors while lying down and enjoying the view, all thanks to a guaranteed LSSR. Considering the system said 3 random items would drop, he gets a devious glint in his eye, thinking there's a chance he could pull it. He holds out his hand and chants, "Open, please. If I get something good, I'll live a virtuous life." A bright light erupts and an item box tumbles down. He waits nervously for the big reveal. The first item that appears is a simple mana stone crystal. Juhyuk immediately sinks to his knees in despair, illuminated by a harsh spotlight of disappointment, though he quickly tries to console himself by calculating its monetary value, realizing it's at least worth 5 million won if he sells it. He doesn't waste any time, initiating the opening process for the next golden loot box. As he reaches out, a glowing golden box appears, revealing a skill that looks quite wuxia style, which he plans to check later before hitting the final open. A glowing rune materializes as his third reward, and our gacha boy screams, "This is jackpot!" He pictures his summoned heroes standing behind different tiered doors, knowing this is one of the most powerful items he could have received. He then observes Cossack and Gobang squabbling over food, making him wonder which equally reliable, no, equally idiotic, summon should receive this incredible prize, realizing it's a total dilemma. Ultimately, his loyalty shines through, and Juhyuk decides that Cossack, who he shared so many bowls of rice with, is the rightful recipient. But his thoughtful expression shifts. He decides to call Cossack separately later, reasoning that their firepower isn't lacking right now, and it would be better to test the skill first. He opens his interface and selects the new skill. The Primordial Thunderstaff icon glows brightly. "Ooh," he exclaims, as the usage of the form transfers directly into his brain, feeling incredibly lucky to get an attack skill just when he needed one, so he quickly acquires it. Gripping a weapon, our lightning wielder prepares to test out his new thunder skill with a powerful shout of "Sol Chasing Thunderbolt." He swings his weapon, trailing electricity, as if unleashing its power. But after his test strike, he simply stands there, weapon still in hand. "Of course IT doesn't work," he sighs, glancing at a nonchalant Cossack who's still eating, admitting that if he could use this power in reality, the world would have descended into chaos long ago. But then he rounds on Cossack, yelling, "You son of a! It was the last bowl, spit IT out, you bastard," quickly adding that he'll try the skill inside the tower later. Our frustrated commander then smiles and makes a peace sign, a quick apology for his outburst. But Cossack just sits there looking upset, refusing, and no. Juhyuk watches as Cossack and Gobang, or Meatball as he's affectionately known, continue their food squabble. Cossack slams his hand into Gobang's head, shouting the same line back at him, "You son of a! It was the last bowl, spit IT out, you bastard." Looking utterly exhausted, Juhyuk simply thinks, "UNSUMMON." The next day, sitting on the floor at home, Juhyuk reflects that he understands Cossack's worries about his safety. He knows that with his summoning trait, his summoned heroes handle most of the combat power. This means the summoner himself doesn't necessarily have to fight, especially for an irregular like him who can call summons into reality. He thinks of the person in a parallel universe who supposedly had the same trait as him, the summoner who must have called Cossack before him, and how that person must have been much stronger than he is now. Yet that person died. In a way, Juhyuk admits, it's natural for Cossack to be sensitively worried, especially since that previous summoner's world was destroyed. But with a determined, funny face, our timid tower player declares, "I'm a person too." He's just awakened and started getting a taste of being a real man, and he needs to use the attack skill he learned. Jumps up confident that since both of his summons have absolute obedience, he can persuade them, and with a flourish, he summons Barbarian Meat Shield and John Kosack. He looks at his two summoned characters, wondering how much they worried for their faces to look so distraught in just one day. Cossack cuts in, observing that it was fortunate they were goblins. As Juhyuk concludes it was because he got an attack skill. With a close-up on his face, Cossack declares, "I will apologize in advance. I'm about to commit a mortal sin." Juhyuk reacts with alarm as the massive barbarian summon, Gobang, lunges forward. Cossack's glowing red eye pulses ominously. Then a mouth shouts, "Activate!" A chalkboard appears displaying the 3 principles of the summoned, with John Cossack pointing at them, reinforcing their plan. "You guys!" Juhyuk exclaims as he's caught in a bear hug by the massive barbarian summon, his escape thwarted. Cossack shouts, swiping at the indifferent barbarian, telling him to hold Juhyuk after they enter the tower, not before. Juhyuk, troubled between his 2 conspiratorial summons, sighs, realizing that they've teamed up to make him handle the clearing alone. He bows his head, looking stressed, admitting he didn't want to go this far to make them understand. Wide, sad eyes, our wimpy summoner pleads with Cossack, "Don't be like that, give me a break just this once. I'll take it easy from now on." Cossack points a skeptical finger, asking, "Is that true?" Juhyuk replies, "Trust me just once," while Cossack, arms crossed and frustrated, emphasizes, "Safety first, self-preservation." Our determined wimp then beams a happy smile, having seemingly won the argument. He salutes in a chibai style, ready to go. Cossack returns the salute, looking slightly exasperated but resigned. The team walks through the woods. Juhyuk muses that they're probably smarter than Gobang, who proudly replies, "Me smarter than Orc." Juhyuk, holding a mace and shield, suggests, "Hey, wait, let us practice just 10 times before we go," to which Cossack replies, "You can go for 100 times." Cossack gestures to Gobang, offering him as a training dummy. "Here we have a training dummy, Meatball. Go ahead and whack a Chiam." Juhyuk, aghast, asks, "Are you telling me to hit Mr. Meatball right now?" Gobang reassures him that hitting him is fine and he won't get hurt, but Juhyuk, caught between Cossack's urging and Gobang's consent, gets frustrated, threatening to charge in alone if they keep this up, which instantly makes Cossack panic, yelling, "Anything but that." Holding his electrified mace, our lightning wielder declares it'll be easier to practice directly on an orc rather than hitting Mr. Meatball, and tells them, "Let us go." Cossack simply responds with a knowing, "Yes." A group of orc enemies prepares for battle in the woods. Cossack immediately lunges toward the orcs, with Gobang joining the fight, saying, "MEGO 2. Gobang launches a powerful aerial strike, crashing into the orcs below like a meteor. He delivers a massive punch to an orc, quickly dispatching it with a series of grunts. Meanwhile, John Cossack expertly slashes through multiple orc enemies, a blur of deadly efficiency. Juhyuk watches the battle unfold with wide-eyed surprise, yelling, "Fast!" He starts to fret, realizing that at this rate, the battle will be over before he can even catch a single one to practice on. Just then, Cossack strikes an orc enemy with his blade, knocking it off balance. Juhyuk's eyes widen as he realizes, "You picked one out for me," and immediately replies, "Okay." He leaps into the air with his mace raised high, ready for action. Gobang watches the battle from behind, content to let Juhyuk take center stage, declaring, "I will watch from behind." Juhyuk strikes down from above towards the stunned orc. He executes a powerful blow against the orc, connecting cleanly. The orc looks on questioningly for a split second, confused, as Juhyuk lands his attack, which he explains is just the simple vertical strike of the first form soul-chasing thunderbolt. Our lightning wielder channels energy into his mace, preparing to unleash the full power of his new skill. He strikes the orc with a massive bolt of lightning, shouting the full name, 1 SD form Soul Chasing Thunderbolt. Our tower climber, now proficient with his new skill, easily strikes an orc monster in the head with his weapon, then uses his shield to pin another orc to the ground while attacking. He stands victorious in the forest, holding his magic staff over a defeated orc. With an excited smile, our family protector thinks this is too easy. He stealthily moves behind another orc, axe in hand. He looks intense and focused, ready for one more. A large foot steps on an orc, pinning it to the ground, allowing Juhyuk to clean up. He turns nervously to his 2 summoned allies, wondering if they agreed to catch just one. One desert orc falls to his strike, completing his 21st floor mission with an S++ clear rank, rewarded with mana stones and healing potions, and a level increase. Cave orc is next to be defeated, securing yet another S++ clear on the 23rd floor. Even a volcano orc, though slightly difficult, falls to his efforts, as our tower climber marvels that with Cossack and even Meatball, there's no stopping them as they clear 1 floor per day. Sitting on his bed, our wary strategist admits that catching only one at a time is starting to feel like a tease, but he needs to build trust for the time being as he prepares for the long-awaited 25th floor. He stands up and puts on his pants, ready for the next challenge. Suddenly, a summoned hero appears and salutes him, asking if he was not resting today. In the kitchen, Juhyuk offers the hero an object he picked up, which the hero wonders if it is for eating. Our family protector reacts with wide-eyed shock, pointing at the glowing blue rune stone and exclaiming a string of numbers. He looks panicked as his summoned hero bites down on the glowing rune stone, wondering if it will increase its grade. Juhyuk looks horrified as his summoned hero happily holds the rune stone aloft. The hero then happily consumes the rune stone, crying with joy in the background, making Juhyuk feel good too. Joo-hyuk points at the joyfully weeping hero. He realizes with a slight sigh that a grade increase is not something that happens instantly. The hero, holding a TV remote and scratching his head, says he will watch TV then. Joo-hyuk and the summoned hero sit on the floor watching television, with the hero asking if the TV is expensive, and Joo-hyuk telling him to just watch it on VOD. Suddenly, our popular boy looks shocked at the television screen and tells the hero to turn the channel back, prompting the hero to ask why. On the news, a woman is protesting, catching Joo-hyuk's full attention. He stares intensely at the screen, shocked, realizing, why is Mom on the news? Mom! His mother stands before a large building holding a protest sign. She walks through a city crowd, reflecting that she couldn't stand the unfair treatment anymore, especially the contract termination. Flashback shows a customer pointing at trash, telling her to sort the recycling on her way out while she was there to set up a water purifier. But what made her even angrier was what came next. Another flashback shows her receiving a termination notice from an executive after refusing to apologize to the customer for doing nothing wrong. She stands alone with her sign, hearing mocking laughter as company executives ridicule her for doing something useless, realizing all she got from protesting for 10 days was scorn. Suddenly, a man glares intensely at someone, threatening to ram into them if they laugh again. As the first man is about to babble again, another man in a suit approaches, politely offering his services. The first man narrows his eyes, appearing suspicious of the stranger. Chibai-style panel shows the first man aggressively protesting, making the businessman recoil in panic, pleading for him to calm down. Close-up reveals hands exchanging a business card for law firm Park & Kim. The businessman stands confidently before a large, glowing skyscraper representing the firm, proudly announcing it as Korea's best law firm. The businessman tries to reassure the protester that he's not a scammer. The first man thinks to himself, feeling conflicted, but acknowledging it doesn't seem like a lie despite his suspicions. The man in the suit speaks seriously, convincing him to accept, saying, "Right, I've come this far, it's do or die." The two men agree to cooperate, with the protester entrusting his defense and the lawyer expressing delight at his refreshing decision. The lawyer gestures with a finger, suggesting they start with the media work. Reporters and cameras immediately surround the person holding the protest sign. The lawyer gives a thumbs up to the cameras, casually noting they can edit the footage later. The protester looks nervous, engulfed by cameras and recording equipment. Back home, Joo-hyuk sits on the floor, clutching his head in horror, thinking about how his mom was suffering doing a one-person protest. Close-up shows our deep thinker suffering, ashamed that his two sons couldn't even be relied on in times like this. His eyes widen in realization, wondering how she got a lawyer. He knows that for law firm Park & Kim, a few pennies would not be nearly enough. John Cossack is seen holding two swords near his face, subtly observing. Cossack crouches with twin blades drawn as Joo-hyuk watches in shock, noting that Joo-hyuk roughly grasped the situation. He commends Joo-hyuk's quick wit, but there is a catch. Sitting on the floor, deep in thought, Joo-hyuk plans to send his mom lawyer fees later, calculating his 21 kg of mana stones are worth about 10 million won, and might even sell his energy barrier kit. But Cossack's internal voice tells him not to, explaining that from the interview, his mom seems to have a pretty decent lawyer. Joo-hyuk talks on the phone, surprised by the news his father is sharing. His father reassures him not to worry, saying his mom's lawyer fee is free, part of a support program for the socially disadvantaged. When Joo-hyuk mentions planning to send money, his father laughs, asking where he would even get it, telling him to just work well. As a medical scan of a pelvis appears, his father continues the bad news, informing him that he was selected for hospitalization there in a few days. Close-up of Joo-hyuk's worried face reveals his father's final piece of news. With a stroke of luck, the treatment costs for hospitalization and rehab are also free. Joo-hyuk looks at his phone, suspicious of the sudden convenience, noting that Ilseong Hospital is Korea's best, owned by a conglomerate, and while it's good, it's also a bit strange. His suspicious face shifts as he thinks about Min-hyuk, wondering if the whole family is having something special happen today. Min-hyuk talks on the phone while writing notes, expressing his frustration with some people. He then asks Joo-hyuk if he saw their mom's interview, and Joo-hyuk confirms he did. Min-hyuk continues writing notes while talking, prompting Joo-hyuk to ask if he did not say he needed a laptop. Min-hyuk stands, looking pleased with his luck, confidently saying that living kindly brings this kind of luck. Close-up of Joo-hyuk's face, as he realizes the truth makes him muse in wonder. He asks about the scholarship's origin, and Min-hyuk explains it is a national scholarship given by the Awakening Management Department, who usually give out a lot of scholarships. Sitting on the floor, contemplating his realization, our wary strategist concludes, as expected. He tells Min-hyuk to study hard. He concludes that it was not the heavens helping them. His mom's lawyer, dad's hospital, and Min-hyuk's scholarship are all the work of the Awakening Management Department. The imposing headquarters building of the Awakening Management Department towers over the city. Inside a vehicle, an agent in a suit talks on the phone, asking if Joo-hyuk has time to meet somewhere quiet, and offering to pick him up for a meal together. Our deep thinker sits across from an unknown man, sharing a meal at a table, the agent having delivered on his promise. Joo-hyuk looks shocked as he asks the unknown man to explain. He lists out his mom's lawsuit, father's hospital, and brother's scholarship. Close-up of food cooking on a grill with tongs shows the agent's casual reply, because it was absolutely necessary, making Joo-hyuk retort that he does not even hide it. Joo-hyuk looks concerned, asking why they would do this without consulting him at all. Close-up of the unknown man shows him smiling slightly, entirely unconcerned by Joo-hyuk's protests. Joo-hyuk reacts with shock and fear as the unknown man leans in, about to deliver his ultimatum. A hand places a contract paper on the table, the terms clear. The unknown man smiles down at Joo-hyuk, inviting him into an elite team. Contract, the man states, making Joo-hyuk look confused and nervous, asking, "Pardon?" Alone in the dark, wearing glasses, Joo-hyuk reflects, knowing he needs to have more individuality from now on, calling forth his second power. As a blue, circular energy anomaly glows against a pitch-black background, he thinks of the eyes that see the truth. Wimpy summoner Bong Joo-hyuk is in a high-stakes meeting, getting offered a spot on an elite team, and the agent clearly came prepared, because Bong Joo-hyuk is sweating buckets just looking at the contract. The agent explains that Joo-hyuk, as a consecutive 24-floor S++ clearer, is more than qualified for the elite team, which our timid tower player can't even argue with, feeling it would sound like false modesty. The agent then bows deeply, mentioning a recent incident with someone named Choi Ho-sok, and offers Joo-hyuk the treatment he deserves. But Joo-hyuk flashes back to a dangerous moment with a gun, reminding him why he usually avoids such attention. The agent presses on, promising VVIP-level close protection and even bodyguards for Joo-hyuk's family if he wishes, which makes our gacha boy remember his biggest issue with the elite contract: the player's duty of video recording that would expose John Cossack and Meatball, potentially entangling them in annoying matters. This new offer, however, is a huge curveball, and Joo-hyuk can feel himself wavering under the sheer temptation of guaranteed family safety. He feels like he can't possibly refuse, even as a small voice in his head worries about conditions changing later. But the agent, seeing his eagerness, assures him there's nothing to worry about. With a pen presented for his signature, Joo-hyuk hesitates at the last second, suddenly needing some advice before making such a big decision. Looking nervously at the agent, our summoner extraordinaire gets a temporary reprieve to consult with his summoned allies. He calls forth John Cossack, who arrives in a blinding flash, leveling up to a special super rare assassin, and the proud assassin strikes a confident pose, flashing a peace sign. Bong Joo-hyuk admits Cossack's new look is pretty cool, and then brings up the elite team offer, asking his opinion before they clear the 25th floor. John Cossack is immediately in favor, declaring Sumner Bong a player of national power level, and insists that even climbing to the 60th floor or higher is absolutely possible with him on the elite team. He explains that Joo-hyuk's safety is power itself, enough for him to live a long life, and then starts talking about the sheer number of legend SSR-grade summoned beings out there. Cossack assures our gacha boy that they will obey his orders, as long as it doesn't violate the third principle, and leans in to reveal that there are even demigod-level monsters that transcend humans. Joo-hyuk is utterly shocked, unable to even imagine such powerful allies, but Cossack casually confirms they exist. As Cossack continues to explain the possibilities, Joo-hyuk considers that all this power is meaningless if he doesn't get lucky with his draws, since the random summon cooldown is roughly a month. He watches the UI timer, knowing he still has 19 days left before his next chance. Cossack then advises him to make one firm demand until the next random summon, insisting that Joo-hyuk must decide the upper floor clears to avoid dealing with all sorts of trash. The assassin even sheds a tear, implying some painful memory of unprepared states, which surprises our wimpy summoner, who notes Cossack's unexpected support. Right on cue, a new summon is designated, the dull barbarian meat shield of the Great Plains tribe, who immediately pledges absolute obedience. The new summoner, soon to be nicknamed Meatball, looks back over his shoulder, only to be met with John Cossack's menacing laughter. The dull barbarian nervously calls Cossack, "Assassin, be bad," but Cossack quickly shuts him up, asserting his higher grade and asking Joo-hyuk if Meatball is avoiding his eyes. The SSR assassin continues to loom over the new R-grade summon, explaining the two-level grade gap, while Meatball can only look forward, walking on eggshells. Joo-hyuk sighs, feeling pitiful for Meatball, and resolves to give him the next summon grade-up rune. The mission notification for the 25th floor of the Black Tower then appears, tasking them with defeating 100 orcs and one orc great chieftain. As a horde of orcs manifests, our reluctant hero is taken aback by their sheer numbers. He stands between his two summons, wondering if he can sneak in a few kills himself. John Cossack stretches, ready to loosen up and celebrate his SSR upgrade, a malicious smile spreading across his face. Meatball, the dull barbarian, charges in first, declaring he will eat all aggro. He stomps the ground like a collapsing building, leaping high into the air with intense ferocity to initiate combat. Surprised orcs look on with alarm, as the dull barbarian slams into the ground, creating a massive impact zone among them. John Cossack then smiles maliciously, unleashing a powerful magical blade technique, sending several glowing blue blades tearing through the air toward the orcs. Our gacha boy reacts with wide-eyed amazement, exclaiming that it feels like a fighter jet just flew by. Cossack descends, his blades ready to strike again, and the magic blades pierce multiple orcs, causing them to flinch and collapse. He moves swiftly, his blade explosion skill detonating around the orcs, which makes Bong Joon-hyuk realize that even the surrounding orcs are getting caught in the blast, making it more like a bazooka than a simple blade explosion. As John Cossack lands, orcs fall around him, pierced by his magical strikes. He performs an acrobatic maneuver, striking multiple targets with his blades, while a nearby orc growls, watching the chaotic battlefield. Its glowing red eye shows clear shock and hesitation, as John Cossack prepares another deadly attack. He ambushes an orc with a swift, lethal strike, announcing surprise with his despicable ambush skill, and skillfully defeats it with a flourish of his blades. Wide view shows a growing number of defeated orcs lying on the ground, while two terrified orcs exchange looks of fear and confusion. John Cossack crouches with his blade, channeling a dark, glowing energy for his poison dagger skill, his eyes closed with a slight, sinister smile, surrounded by a radiant purple aura. Bong Joon-hyuk, seeing his summons clear the field so efficiently, expresses intense anxiety, realizing he needs to move fast too, and leaps through the air with a glowing spear, ready to strike a group of orcs with his shadow step skill. He descends with his spear, forcing two orcs to react defensively in surprise. John Cossack's words echo in Joon-hyuk's mind. Summoner's safety is power itself, enough for him to live a long life. Our gacha boy grips his weapon tightly, pondering Cossack's philosophy amidst the ongoing battle. With his eyes glowing, he holds his weapon with renewed, resolute focus, determined to grow up fast so that everyone who worries about him can finally be at ease. After watching his powerful summons clear the 25th floor, our timid tower player decides he can't rely on them forever, muttering to himself that he can't rely on Cossack forever. He lunges into the fray with his staff, determined to grow strong too, and immediately zaps an orc with a blast of electricity. Our gacha boy kicks the stunned monster, following up with a flying kick to its midsection, sending it crashing backward. The orc hits the ground, defeated. Two more orcs charge him, growling aggressively, but our determined summoner stands his ground, activating his primordial thunderstaff's first form, unleashing a soul-chasing thunderbolt that strikes the orc dead center. As even more orcs swarm him, Joon-hyuk dashes and weaves through the horde, landing precise strikes, his high-speed movements a blur of electrical energy, and suddenly realizes he's unlocked a new skill, a second form. While the orcs look around in confusion, wondering what kind of scattered thunder technique this is, our hero activates the primordial thunderstaff's second form, surrounding himself with crackling magic, then hovers in the air, striking multiple enemies with bolts of lightning, as powerful electrical strikes rain down on the orcs below, casting a wide area lightning spell that decimates his attackers. He grins widely, delighted by his new power, realizing it's an AoE attack. Meanwhile, John Cossack watches the chaos with his usual calm, closed-eye expression, until he gasps in sudden alarm at Joon-hyuk's overzealous assault and quickly creates a barrier, calling out to Summoner Bong. Cossack cries out in distress, reminding Joon-hyuk that they agreed he'd only catch one monster per floor. Our gacha boy apologizes sheepishly, scratching his head, but then he notices something important, pausing to think, realizing he's apologizing to an entity he summoned and questioning why he's doing it. He defiantly declares his status within the tower. I might be a wimp outside, but inside the tower I'm a total alpha male. Cossack, frustrated, gestures at his face and insists on safety first, telling him to just let the orc great chieftain come out. Joon-hyuk looks startled by something off-panel, gripping his weapon tightly, looking wary and confused. A massive orc great chieftain appears, looming over our wimpy summoner, who admits he didn't expect it to show up so fast. Joon-hyuk cowers in terror as the chieftain swings its giant axe, shrieking, "K-O-S-A-C-K, Mr. K-O-S-A-C-K." John Cossack dashes to save our hero from the incoming axe strike, moving like a blur. Terrified, Joon-hyuk reflects on his poor decision, wishing he had listened to Cossack earlier, and points at the orc chieftain, ordering Cossack to get rid of it right now. John Cossack and the barbarian prepare to fight, promising to handle it while telling Joon-hyuk to protect himself. The two powerful summons dash forward to confront the giant enemy, attacking the orc chieftain with overwhelming force. As the barbarian raises a glowing fist to strike and lands a powerful blow, the warrior's glowing fist slamming into the chieftain's weapon. The orc chieftain recoils in surprise from the hit, before the barbarian follows up with a powerful kick. The warrior then delivers a dual fist strike, knocking the orc chieftain backward. The orc chieftain is sent flying by the impact, and a notification appears for our hero. John Cossack then performs a rapid dash strike, tearing through the chieftain, finishing the battle. Our newly confident leader contemplates the list of selectable encore perks, wondering what an encore perk means. He presses his finger on the trait enhancement selection screen, thinking it's a crazy windfall, and smiles as his trait enhancement is successfully processed, realizing he'd be an idiot to choose anything else. Standing with his two hulking allies, our summoner calculates his party size, thinking a 4-man party, including himself, is good, and wonders who the third team member will be when his random summon cooldown ends in about 18 days. He looks around nervously between his powerful summons, contemplating their next move. Back in a living room, John Cossack and the barbarian sit on the floor, ready for action. Cossack looks at Juhyuk, pointing out that he can't eat spicy food. Cossack argues he's an SSR, not a spice wimp, while Juhyuk teases him. They celebrate completing the 25th floor mission, with multiple containers of spicy food as a reward. The barbarian consumes the spicy food without a hitch, making Cossack question if it's truly spicy. Don Cossack stares intensely at the food, dreading the heat, and asks if it's really not spicy. He reacts with extreme physical distress after tasting it, collapsing from the spice. The barbarian, ever practical, watches Cossack incapacitated on the floor and suggests, "Assassin is dying soon. Need throw this guy away. Summon new person." Our gacha boy drinks from a mug, thinking about having already cleared the 25th floor and realizes it's probably okay to tell his family now. He smiles happily, holding a package of premium meat for them. Arriving home, he tells his family he'll explain everything in a bit. His parents react with shock and worry about the expensive meat, asking if he kept the receipt. Juhyuk's father smiles kindly, trying to de-escalate the situation, acknowledging that things have been chaotic lately. A reluctant hero looks at his parents, relieved that his mom's lawsuit and dad's treatment all worked out well. He calmly reveals his secret to them, stating that he's active as a player. His parents sit in stunned silence, trying to process the news. They initially think he's joking about a game, his father skeptical, holding an apple slice. The next day, a large tower rises into the sky under a bright, sunny day with clouds. A man in a suit addresses Juhyuk and his family outside a white limousine, confirming our hero is a precious talent of the nation. A hand scans a premium black card at a security door, granting access. Inside a luxurious high-rise apartment suite, Bong Juhyuk gestures broadly, telling his family, "My family, please live here from now on." Our gacha boy has leveled up, as we see the Grand Awakened Management Department building, and his hand signs an elite contract, making him an official player. He's sitting there, pen in hand, looking utterly shocked that he actually signed an elite contract, thinking how truly unpredictable life is now. The annual salary for elite players is regulated at a mere 2 billion won, which is enough to paralyze our cautious summoner's sense of reality. He flashes back to his family, fearing that if his face spreads on TV and social media, they won't even be able to go outside, which is why he hasn't even told them he's the S++ record holder. The man in the suit just smiles, probably at the sheer absurdity of Juhyuk's definition of a small amount. Juhyuk insists the salary is more than enough, absolutely ecstatic. Meanwhile, his family is loving their luxurious new apartment, with his brother exclaiming about their mom crying tears of joy, and how his own room is crazy with gaming gear and a huge TV. As night falls over a modern building, we cut to a different kind of elite life, where two women splash around in an indoor pool, looking up at a muscular man who's got their full attention. One of them leans in close to him, getting cozy. This is Yu Qiaoman, a powerful player whose tattooed, shirtless physique makes him look more like a mob boss than a hero. His companions toast with glasses of whiskey, joking about one glass costing 5 million won. Yu Qiaoman, sitting with the women, comments on their uncanny knack for sniffing out money. But in his mind, he's plagued by thoughts about the identity of the record holder for consecutive S++ clears on the 25th floor. He's sitting there in the pool, clearly agitated by something, as the two women look surprised by his sudden mood shift. Then, in a fit of pique, he pours the expensive whiskey right over one of their heads, looming over the drenched woman. He drops the bottle, and it smashes on the floor, perfectly illustrating his explosive temper. He threatens the crying woman, calling her a fuckface, and blaming her because the tower is collapsing due to all this talk of S++. Yu Qiaoman stands alone, looking out a large window, lost in his frustrated thoughts. He's tired of S++ this, S++ that, even after inviting civilians, and it's clearly getting under his skin. He rubs his face in frustration, the weight of his own accomplishments overshadowed by the new S++ player. He recalls massive job offers from China and Japan, with China offering 180 billion won, a mansion, caretakers, and a private jet, while Japan offered even more at 200 billion won, a top-class mansion, and 10 maid caretakers who'd do whatever he wanted. Yet he's still in Korea, clearing the 66th floor to the death for months, only to hear about some bastard who just broke through the 25th floor, calling everyone ungrateful. He wonders if he should really just naturalize, finding the 66th floor clear burdensome enough. Speaking of the 60s floors, an unknown narrator explains that these are the beginning of the undead section, featuring specters that make you tremble, ignoring physical attacks. These aren't your common fiction undead, but rather terrifying beings that emit demonic energy, requiring 3 days of rest after just one attempt due to mental shock. Even with all kinds of support, like accessories and light attribute weapons, it's a struggle to barely make it out alive, and clearing the 66th floor will be difficult for a while. Back with our newly minted elite player, Bong Juhyuk stares out a window at night, deep in thought. He ponders the chaos that would erupt if a player suddenly naturalized to a foreign country. However, a malicious hooded figure with glowing eyes laughs maniacally, saying it's already too late. He declares that the ungrateful morons will regret and despair, because he won't be in Korea by the time the tower collapse countdown activates. Back in his world, our chicken-loving hero answers the door to a delivery person. He looks down, taking the bags of food, excitedly carrying the takeout, He thinks about how resident staff handle everything, and he's bringing basic fried chicken for Cossack. Even the 26th floor, known for its tough swamp environment, was okay thanks to his shadow step skill. He holds up 2 bags of chicken, happily inviting Cossack and his new summon, Mr. Meatball, to feast. Both summons blush, clearly pleased. Our timid tower player awkwardly hides behind his large summon, feeling a bit shy about their reaction. The 3 of them are now watching an idle music performance on television, and Juhyuk is completely captivated. He's overwhelmed by the sight of a girl group on his 100-inch TV, finding it absolutely dazzling. A muscular, dark-skinned hand picks up a piece of fried chicken, starting the meal. Juhyuk sits between his 2 summons, announcing that they'll run straight through to the 29th floor. John Cossack, eating, looks confused and asks why they're only going up to the 29th. Our gacha boy makes a hand gesture, implying something big. Cossack smiles brightly with his eyes closed, understanding the hint. Mr. Meatball cheers for a new member, and Cossack, while returning the cheer, worries about his position as right-hand man if an LSSR comes out, though he concedes it's for the summoner's safety. A man in a suit appears at the doorway, delivering an item Juhyuk requested. Juhyuk receives the Volcano Orc leather armor, which blocks cold and chills with residual flame aura. He promises to use it well and return it, while the delivery man wishes him good luck on the 27th floor. Entering the 27th floor, a snowy mountain landscape notorious for bitter cold, Juhyuk, now in his new red winter coat, walks through the snowy forest with his summons, feeling not cold at all, marveling at the power of equipment. Mr. Meatball looks surprised, a question mark hovering over his head, probably wondering how Juhyuk is so warm. John Cossack, encased in ice and struggling to speak, stubbornly insists the cold is nothing, and he can drive it away with magic power despite appearances. Our gacha boy, unimpressed, thinks that if only Mr. Meatball had brains, he'd be the true SSR. Boots land on the snowy ground, signaling the start of the hunt. Cossack, trailing ice magic, moves swiftly through the snow. Our icy warrior attacks, creating a massive gust of snow and magic as he declares they should start hunting right away. Juhyuk and Mr. Meatball watch as Cossack seemingly goes berserk because of the cold. Still cozy in his winter coat, our summoner reflects on how warm he is and how annoying it is to move, but decides he should still catch at least one monster. Cossack, the large muscular warrior, charges forward, with Juhyuk running behind him. Before our summoner can even warm up, the mission is already clear, with Cossack apologizing for finishing it so quickly. Juhyuk, joyful, sees a weapon item drop for him, a 2-handed sword, but then he pauses. Close-up of the holy sword reveals it's incredibly worn out. He looks at the heavy, ancient sword in his hands, confused about how it could be better than his current mace, noting its weight, and decides he should find out its disposal price later. The sinister hooded figure with glowing eyes thinks about how Juhyuk is wondering who Climax is, an idol, and then grins maliciously about the truth that his eyes see. Glowing blue circular energy swirls in the darkness, a prelude to the chaos the figure intends to unleash. Holding the weathered stone sword, our gacha boy is tempted to try it out. He stands with his summoned allies watching, deciding that selling this heavy, worn-out sword is his only option. But before he gets rid of it, he decides to try swinging it just once, with the red-haired summon cheering him on. Our wimpy summoner swings the sword, sweating with effort, finding it incredibly difficult. He loses his balance immediately, staggering as he tries to wield the massive blade. He leans on the sword, panting heavily and utterly exhausted. The red-haired man claps happily, completely unfazed by Juhyuk's defeat. As Juhyuk stands defeated, the red-haired man gestures in the background, a serious expression now on his face. Juhyuk looks forward with wide, shocked eyes as the vision shifts. The red-haired man explains that if the boundary between the outside world and the tower disappears and numerous towers collapse, reality will merge with the tower itself. And then, he continues, the player's ability limits will be unlocked. With a serious expression, the red-haired man warns that this merging is the very omen of impending doom. Meanwhile, in Seoul, we see the Japanese embassy building under a twilight sky. A man in glasses speaks on the phone, explaining that their asset, referred to as the Rabbit, intends to abandon their old sanctuary for a new one. Counselor Tomo sits at a desk in a dark room, looking up with a sinister expression. He thinks about the approaching danger, insisting his contact must personally escort the target over because of the monitoring factions. 2 days later, our worried summoner feels anxious, still thinking about Cossack's ominous warning. He looks at a holographic screen, but decides worrying won't solve anything, and he just needs to keep climbing at his own pace, trusting high-level players like Yu Chialman to handle the high floors. He gestures towards the screen, ready to clear the 29th floor today, following yesterday's 28th. He recalls the headache of yesterday's 28th floor, a dark forest with jungle trolls, which would have been difficult for Cossack alone to S++ clear. But thankfully they had Meatball, our smashing summon, who handled those huge trees with ease, making Juhyuk wish he was just a little smarter. Don Cossack lunges forward like a spring-loaded tiger with his dual blades, attacking monsters. He comments that they're dropping like chestnuts, and Juhyuk finds it a refreshing finish. Our masked marvel, wearing a gas mask, thinks that the 28th floor was clean, but the 29th floor they're clearing today won't end so cleanly. Hideous, bloated plague troll monster stands in a ruin, and Joo-hyuk explains they wander around dripping yellow pus and discharge, even making players sick. He prepares thoroughly for the floor, summoning his loyal SSR Cossack and Meatball, who are both at his service. As he enters the floor, a HUD message displays the mission details. In the dark city landscape, Joo-hyuk asks if his summons are really okay without masks, to which Meatball says warriors don't get sick, and Cossack replies it's hard to breathe and move, so he'll just accept the thought. Our masked Marvel responds with a simple, "Ah, okay." Cossack and Meatball quickly descend into the 29th floor. Their hunting speed seems even faster than the 28th floor. Cossack and Meatball celebrate their successful mission, having quickly cleared the 29th floor with an S++ rank, earning Joo-hyuk a level up and a platinum badge. Cossack looks sheepish, apologizing to Joo-hyuk for clearing it so fast, prompting Joo-hyuk to ask why he's apologizing. As Joo-hyuk summons his heroes, another scene unfolds. Elsewhere, a female athlete lifts weights in a training room. Weight plates drop to the floor as she finishes her set. She fixes her hair after a grueling workout. A dark zombie monster from the 62nd floor looms in a ruined city, its dark aura corrupting players, and she thinks there's no chance of victory right now. She sits alone in the gym, contemplating if the 62nd floor is really her limit. With determination, the struggling athlete stares ahead, vowing to try until her body breaks if she wants to walk the path of an elite player. She drinks a protein shake, refueling. Then she strikes a confident pose in the gym, radiating power like a seasoned athlete. Suddenly, she sees others running past a window. She turns around, calling out "Mina Unni" to someone off-panel. She confronts a woman in a suit in a corridor, revealing that the team leader is Mina. Back with Joo-hyuk, his eyes widen in shock as he hears breaking news. A man on a stage at a press conference condemns Korea's awakening management department for neglecting the elite team, saying the future of the Republic of Korea was grim. Reporters film the press conference with cameras, capturing the dramatic announcement. Yoo Cheolman speaks at the podium, announcing he will leave Korea as of today and be active as a Japanese player. Our gacha boy gasps with a panicked expression at the news of the high-ranker defecting. He sits on a couch as a man in a suit confirms that the awakening management department knew this would come up, wondering why they were called so suddenly. Alone in his room again, Joo-hyuk looks thoughtful, calculating that at his current pace of clearing one floor a day, it would take him 37 days to reach the 66th floor, which seems possible given the 90-day deadline. But there are complications. He looks ahead with a worried expression, knowing the difficulty of the upper floors. The man in the suit speaks, looking troubled, admitting they are so desperate they're clutching at straws. But then Joo-hyuk tells him not to make such a sad face because it weakens his resolve. Our blushing hero is crying with his eyes closed, unable to make a promise he can't guarantee. A woman, the athlete from earlier, walks into the room, calling out, "Team leader." The athletic woman enters, clearly anxious. Joo-hyuk blushes intensely, flustered that such a striking woman is interested in him, while the man in the suit tries to explain, apologizing for being anxious. Our panicked Sumner stammers, I am well." He then looks at a holographic inventory screen, remembering that he obtained something like this a while ago. He holds up the sword from the previous chapter, asking if she'd like to try using it. The woman looks at the worn sword, saying someone told her it's a superior version of light attribute items. She reaches out toward the glowing blue sword floating in a holographic interface, eager to see, and Joo-hyuk invites her to look freely. She looks up in shock at the holographic menu, seeing an incredible increase in attack power against undead, and even a boosted critical hit rate. Her face reacts in disbelief, finding it impossible and saying she's never even heard of such effects. The athletic woman lunges forward, grabbing Bong Joo-hyuk by the shoulders, while the man in the suit looks on. Her mouth is open as she speaks intensely. She looks at Joo-hyuk with a desperate expression, begging him to help her. Our wimpy summoner is having a beautiful dream, walking down a flower-lined aisle with Nam Gyeon, their wedding ceremony a picture of perfect happiness. They run hand in hand along a tropical beach at sunset, and as fireworks light up the night sky, he playfully asks Gyeon if they're going to make a honeymoon baby. He suggests the hilarious name Bong, Holy Sword. He laughs, calling her funny. But as she starts to muse about player Bong, Holy Sword, he cuts her off, pulling her in for a kiss. But our gacha boy is jolted awake by the system, looking utterly confused, only to find Gyeon right there, excitedly holding a sword and asking if he'd really lend her this holy sword item. She thanks him profusely for it, already geared up for battle and declaring she'll clear the 62nd floor right away. Our money-minded master watches her disappear through a portal, wondering if the old sword will be useful enough for a good review and price, though he quickly tells himself not to be greedy, since he was just going to get rid of it anyway. The system confirms Gyeon's entry into the Black Tower's 62nd floor, detailing the mission to defeat 20 dark zombies within 15 hours, and she finds herself on a dark battlefield, facing the tower's brutal reality. Grotesque dark zombie and undead horror looms as a monstrous creature appears in the tower. Gyeon stares ahead, tense, admitting she can never get used to this trembling tension. The disgusting energy that makes her want to flee still feels the same. The holy sword suddenly activates, emitting a bright white radiance, but Gion looks concerned, thinking the light is dimmer than she thought, and perhaps even weaker than other light attribute items she's used before. As a monstrous zombie with bandages over its eyes lunges, surrounded by purple energy, Gion grits her teeth, resolved, knowing she has no choice but to try it herself, leaping forward ready to face the enemy, determined that this is a player's destiny. She strikes the zombie with her glowing sword, but a massive dark hand claws at her, sweeping her with its aura. Gion struggles, kneeling on the ground, feeling her body grow heavy, like wading through thick mud, and wondering if the sword isn't changing anything. As a dark, spectral claw descends, she curses under her breath. Suddenly, a divine light bursts from the zombie. As the holy sword's effect, Steadfast Mind activates and Gion strikes it again amidst an explosion, wondering what just happened. The system announces critical damage on the dark zombie, and Gion, surprised, questions if the dark aura was nullified. If so, she knows what to do, unleashing a flurry of critical hits. The zombie screams in agony as it's struck by a powerful golden blow, like a bell being rung. Meanwhile, our timid tower player checks his wristwatch, seeing 2 hours have passed since Gion entered the 62nd floor, and he hunches over, worried, thinking that Nam Gion usually returns around this time when she fails a clear, so he wonders how she'll fare now. Suddenly, Gion appears in a burst of light, like a returning comet, making our anxious hero wonder if she abandoned the mission, or if it was impossible even with the holy sword. But then she presents a small, glowing bottle. Our wimpy summoner begins to say she can tell him honestly if it wasn't good, but Gion cuts him off with a tight hug, making him yelp in surprise, and Juhyuk hallucinates a peaceful scene, thinking this is troubling. Gion hugs him even tighter, explaining she definitely would have failed if not for the holy sword he lent her. Our flustered hero gasps, wondering if he zoned out again as she thanks him profusely. Gion pumps her fists, excited that even the 66th floor might be possible with this holy sword, while a news report flashes an image of Yu Chialman, contrasting him with the fascinating Bong Juhyuk, whose S++ clears and items are now legendary. Our newly minted landlord, dazed by the praise, examines the damaged magical sword, thinking it was a mess to begin with, and he'll probably just use it a few more times before throwing it away. Gion assures him that skilled craftsmen in the player's shop workshop can repair it for quite a long time, to which our money-minded master asks about the repair cost. A man in a business suit suddenly appears, looking directly at Bong Juhyuk, telling him that keeping ownership of this sword would be much more financially beneficial. Our cautious commander listens as the man explains it could be rented for 10 billion won per use, leaving him completely stunned. He reacts with overwhelming joy, exclaiming, "That's way too good. A rental business that's pure profit." The man generously offers the 63rd floor rental for free, which Juhyuk protests but accepts gratefully. Later, happily cooking a pot of meat and vegetables on the stove, our suddenly rich protagonist muses that 10 billion for one loan doesn't feel real, thinking, Holy Sword Lord is even better than being a landlord, as an item he was going to discard became a gold mine. He presents a large plate of bossum to his summoned companions, who react with tears of joy, grateful that Summoner Bong cooked personally for them. He smiles widely appreciative, because thanks to them he's now rich. News footage shows Nam Gion confidently discussing her holy sword clear, and the 66th floor, completely overshadowing Yu Chialman. Meanwhile, our gacha boy reveals he spent the last 10 days only clearing the 28th floor. He diligently scrubs himself at the bathhouse, trims his nails and changes into new clothes, his eyes partially open in concentration. He then fills a bowl from the water purifier, thinking since it's technically purified water, he's freaking hungry and eager to finish his ritual quickly so he can eat. Claps his hands in front of a system cooldown, then prays intensely with his 2 summoned companions, begging, "Please, LSSR, only LSSR, definitely Legend Special Super Rare." One of his summons worries if another army ball will come out, but our wimpy summoner with hands clasped looks concerned. He reminds him that thanks to John, they cleared so many floors with S++ ranks. The muscular summon smiles broadly, annoying the dark-haired summon. Our timid tower player tells them to focus, because it's time. He initiates the random summon, praying for a good grade in the final seconds as a glowing ritual begins, and a figure starts to manifest from the portal. A voice thanks him for summoning, with a gentle smile. Joan Dowry, a new female hero in traditional hanbok, humbly offers her greetings to young Master Bong. Our anxious summoner, Bong Juhyuk, kneels in anticipation as a magical circle illuminates the silhouette of his newest summon, who floats down with shimmering blue energy until her feet touch the ground. She immediately offers a formal greeting, saying, She humbly offers her greetings to young Master Bong. Juhyuk's new SSR grade summon is Joan Dalray, a human shaman who stands before him in traditional clothing, ritual knife and bells at the ready, making our gacha master nervously wonder what they should do. Joan Dalray declares her loyalty, pledging to pour forth all her strength, but Juhyuk can only stare wide-eyed at her weapons, realizing she's a shaman. Our new shaman, however, quickly reveals a fierce personality, aggressively pointing her knife at Juhyuk's male hero summon and demanding, "You cur, what is with that gaze?" she immediately lunges at him, threatening to beat him into submission. As she rounds on Juhyuk, she warns him not to harbor wicked thoughts upon seeing her beauty, lest he face divine punishment. Our timid tower climber can only wonder why none of his summons are ever normal. Still, he's excited by her SSR grade, realizing she's on the same level as an upgraded Cossack. But he can't help wondering if even among SSRs, some hierarchies still form, given her intense charisma. Hoping to understand his newest ally better, Juhyuk decides to dive into her memories. His glowing figure travels through a dark, void-like space before he teleports into a traditional palace, wondering where he is. Golden bells ring as Jeon Dalray floats in midair, performing a shamanistic ritual, revealing she was the daughter of Emperor Mujang of the Qin Empire, who became the greatest shaman of her time. But after her father's death, her younger brother was murdered by their uncle, who then usurped the throne. Enraged, Dalray vowed blood revenge, performing a forbidden death curse ritual, even though her uncle had prepared magical arrays throughout the palace and a scapegoat to take the curse in his place. Dalray shouts, "Death curse!" and her power was unstoppable, striking her uncle with dark, shadowy energy. Her vengeance was successful, but unlawfully sending a death curse for a personal grudge was an act against heavenly law, and the curse rebounded, ending her short life. Juhyuk reacts with empathetic, glowing eyes, now understanding the bitter past behind her strict and solemn personality. Dalray later recounts the history of her world, speaking of a great man who changed the name of the nation from Baekje to Chinja. Juhyuk is shocked by this, realizing he's hearing about a parallel universe. Since in Jeon Dalray's world, it was later Baekje, not Goryeo, that unified the later three kingdoms, a concept John Cossack's past stories had also hinted at. He stands in the kitchen, still thinking about her fascinating charisma, when he realizes he's been fasting since yesterday for the summon. Offering his companions ramen, our gacha master then asks Dalray if she also eats it. She replies that being picky about food goes against etiquette. But when the beefy warrior expresses his delight, Dalray shouts angrily with glowing eyes, warning them about their arrogance as mere summons. Juhyuk is startled as she threatens them with a harsh punishment, and our volatile assassin, John Cossack, scoffs back, calling her a fool who doesn't know her place. Jeon Dalray shakes her ritual bell, coldly declaring, "It seems I'll have to cast a YANGBAP upon you to bring you to your senses." Cossack reacts in terror, stammering for her to wait. Both the assassin and the beefy warrior scramble to cook the ramen, revealing that even these guys who face death without fear have something they're afraid of. After the ramen truce, Jeon Dalray pledges her loyalty, promising to serve him with all her might and asking only for his command. Then they teleport, entering the 30th floor of the South Korean Black Tower. Standing in the forest, our anxious summoner wonders if Dalray's presence could be a good thing, especially since Cossack can't do anything alone. But Jeon Dalray immediately scolds the other summons for their lack of manners, promising to teach them a lesson, even as Juhyuk tries to calm her down. With his summons ready for action, Juhyuk smiles and proposes hunting around 10 monsters for now. Both Cossack and the beefy warrior pledge their loyalty, assuring him they'll sweep the monsters away. Jeon Dalray observes Cossack, remarking that he seems to have a proper mindset, to which he nervously replies, asking if that is so. As 2 troll monsters emerge, the tower mission appears. Defeat 80 trolls and 1 twin-head troll within 13 hours. Juhyuk watches Jeon Dalray, wondering how a shaman will participate in combat, suspecting it might be a curse type, like her death curse for monsters. But then a mysterious portable speaker device appears in her hand, making Juhyuk exclaim at the sight of a portable speaker. Our new shaman explains it's a desperate measure since she travels alone, and Juhyuk encourages her to do what makes her comfortable. As John Cossack and the beefy warrior confront the trolls, a finger presses the play button on the speaker. Jeon Dalray's face intensifies as she activates her ritual, performing a ritual dance and raising her bell and sword, declaring, "Begone all evil things." Our gacha master is shocked, wondering about a shamanic ritual inside the Black Tower. Jeon Dalray floats in the air, enveloped by a powerful glowing blue aura. Juhyuk holds his head, engulfed in blue magical energy, wondering what this is. He notices his beefy warrior, Meatball, whose body is growing bigger. Our beefy warrior, now massive, blocks attacks from several green trolls, sparks flying from his back and smashes them aside with intense golden energy, while John Cossack also tears through enemies. Our anxious summoner cries out that this is incredible and awesome. His eyes glow with heightened senses as his fighting spirit boils over. He's shocked, realizing she can buff too. The trolls have noticeably slowed down, and Juhyuk realizes Dalray is applying buffs and debuffs simultaneously, a phenomenon he's never heard of anywhere. Feeling like he can accomplish anything, Juhyuk's fighting spirit boils over, and he declares that a brave man is coming. But Jeon Dalray grabs his shirt, stopping him, and says, "I believe fighting is best left to the underlings. Young master, you should just watch comfortably." She demands to know how he can try to stand shoulder to shoulder with such lowly things. Juhyuk insists she let go of his shirt, worried he won't catch anything, but she orders him to watch. He pulls his hoodie over his face in frustration, yelling that he couldn't catch a single one as the mission completes and he levels up. But then he spots a mysterious female character who is crying as she looks at him, leaving him stunned. As Joan Dalray cries with tears streaming down her face, our anxious gacha boy realizes the weight of his words, confessing, I was just afraid that I might lose YOU, young master. He questions himself, wondering if he's an idiot for scolding her when she seemed so strong. The narrator reminds us of Dalray's tragic past, losing her father young, betrayed by an uncle, witnessing her brother's death, and casting a death curse for revenge, knowing it would kill her too. Joo-hyuk understands that his summons aren't just familiars, but human beings with emotions, capable of feeling isolation, fear, and despair. He promises Dalray he won't go anywhere dangerous, realizing that her usual strong demeanor might just be a facade hiding her own weakness. Meanwhile, our chaotic assassin, John Cossack, mistakenly thinks Joo-hyuk scolded Dalray for treating him poorly, but our wimpy summoner quickly sets him straight. Cossack points at Dalray in a comical moment, and with a final begone already. Shoo, shoo! The group exits the Black Tower, materializing safely back in Joo-hyuk's home. Our thoughtful summoner checks a system interface, about to be awarded perks for accumulating platinum badges. To his wide-eyed excitement, it's an ultimate jackpot, a cooldown reset ticket, letting him use random summon one more time. As his summoned heroes relax in the kitchen with an unidentified woman, Joo-hyuk decides to save the precious ticket for a truly hopeless situation, smiling happily to himself. Elsewhere, the news reports that Korea's player Nam Gi-eun has successfully cleared the 63rd floor, following her triumph on the 62nd. A man in a suit, Park Kyung-soo, speaks at a podium preparing to show footage. The clip shows the Holy Sword as the key to defeating the undead, neutralizing their dark aura. A man with tattoos sips from a glass, looking serious as the news mentions public anxiety over player Yu Chialman's defection to Japan. Bald man promises to clear the 66th floor within a month to reassure worried citizens. In Japan, the tattooed man, Yu Chialman, fumes, his eye twitching in anger. He throws a glass in a fit of rage, shattering a surface, enraged that Korea didn't support him with the Holy Sword from the start. His face is agitated and sweaty, showing the depth of his fury. Two men stand in the shattered room, one asking what brought the other there so suddenly. The tattooed man looks suspiciously at his visitor. His face shows intense focus, still agitated. The man in the suit smiles widely, suggesting that leasing the Holy Sword to Korea's rival will calm public opinion. He explains how securing the sword would immediately calm negative public opinion nationwide. As the man prepares to leave, Joo-hyuk, Yu Chialman, who is the focus of this scene, the manifest has an error here, mutters about how both Korea and Japan know how to piss him off. He clutches a shattered piece of the wall, an angry, menacing expression on his face, wondering which Fing bastard found the Holy Sword, vowing revenge if he catches them. Back in his home, our ice cream enthusiast reacts happily to something he sees. He looks excited as a new notification arrives. He greets someone delivering ice cream containers to his door, insisting he'll handle it himself. Standing in front of a freezer now filled with ice cream, Joo-hyuk marvels at his newfound ability to buy 10 tubs of premium ice cream, something he used to only dream of. He opens a tub in his kitchen, realizing that with $1 billion about to be deposited into his account, this indulgence is nothing. He eats his ice cream happily, while his two summoned companions look on with equal delight. Our shaman princess, Joan Dalray, watches the unreserved behavior of the commoners, deeming it frivolous beyond measure. She tries to maintain proper etiquette, no matter how excited her heart may be, taking a delicate bite of the sweet treat. But her facade breaks, her face showing a shocked, surprised expression. Our chaotic assassin, John Cossack, points an accusatory finger. Dalray confesses, "I have never tasted such sweet food, even in the royal palace," to which Cossack retorts that she's changing the subject. Our very rich wimp gives her a thumbs up, promising to buy her more next time, delighted that even a princess enjoys ice cream. Then Cossack brings up an urgent matter, asking Joo-hyuk about a damned scoundrel. A Chibai Cossack cartoon angrily names the specific person, Yu Chialman. Dalray immediately becomes furious, flames erupting behind her, condemning Yu Chialman for putting his homeland in danger and pledging allegiance to Japan. She radiates anger, declaring she will not let this knave be and must make him pay the price. Our thoughtful summoner looks concerned, not wanting her to get hurt. He speaks earnestly, saying he's absolutely against her getting hurt just to deal with a guy like that. John Cossack makes a dramatic pose, praising Joo-hyuk as compassionate, wise, and simply the best. Dalray explains that the curse she'll be casting isn't a death curse, surprising Joo-hyuk. With glowing eyes, she focuses her energy. Joo-hyuk watches in anticipation. A visual representation of magic shows snakes coiling around a figure, as Dalray explains that the curse will bring Yu Chialman good fortune or misfortune, depending on his deeds. Our gacha boy looks intrigued, seeing no reason not to proceed, as Dalray assures him she will suffer no harm. She channels her magic into a talisman, Joo-hyuk watching intently. Cossack asks if she was successful. He smiles, holding a television remote. Joo-hyuk nervously asks if she got caught, to which Cossack triumphantly exclaims about her SSR grade. A black television remote sits on a circular table, ready for the ritual. Dalray elegantly uses her fingers to assemble a magical tool. She pricks her finger, looking startled, as she holds the magical item. She uses her blood to activate the television remote, chanting to the gods of heaven and earth. She continues to chant, asking for Yu Qiaomen's karma to crumble if it's like a mountain, or overflow if it's like a river. The television remote glows with intense red light as the spell takes effect. It emits powerful glowing red energy waves, weighing his burden upon the scales of heaven and earth. Bright cyan magical orb pulses around the remote. A dark, glowing pillar of energy appears near Juhyuk. Dalray stands with her hands clasped, speaking to Juhyuk. Meanwhile, on a stage, Yu Qiaomen walks toward a brightly lit podium, ready to be introduced to the crowd. Dalray explains that if his sins are light, it will end as a minor misfortune. But if they are heavy, a great misfortune will fall upon him, represented by a dark, shadowy aura forming around his name. In Japan, Yu Qiaomen walks onto a bright stage in front of a cheering audience, ready to be introduced as a special guest. He smiles confidently as the crowd gives him a big round of applause. He sits on stage, a translator ready by his side. The interviewer thanks him for agreeing to the interview, and our self-assured player responds casually. He laughs confidently when asked if he still has plenty of time until the deadline. Yu Qiaomen smiles warmly at the audience, expressing his thoughtfulness for those disheartened by recent incidents, which the interviewer praises. The interviewer, however, looks serious, asking him to prioritize his safety, recalling the sorrow of losing their best player before his naturalization. Yu Qiaomen confidently states that now that he's level 66, with 5 hours to spare, he stares intently at the camera with a sly smile. He stands confidently before the cheering crowd, declaring, "As long as I'm here, Japan is safe. I'll prove it to you right now." He enters the 57th floor of the Black Tower in Japan, noting it's been a while, as a system interface confirms his physical abilities are enhanced. The mission is to hunt 15 fire wyverns within 14 hours, a tough task against these powerful sky creatures. Wyverns are described as monsters that mainly feed on ogres. Our defector, Yu Qiaomen, walks through the rocky environment, confident that he has perfectly mastered the 57th floor's patterns through countless raids. He pauses, looking sideways with a worried, questioning expression, as he feels a sudden chill. His wide, sweating eyes react with alarm as he wonders if he's not in good condition, feeling a strange coldness. He thinks he needs to hurry up, finish this, and get some good rest, as a glowing spectral crossbow manifests in front of him. He kneels and aims his glowing spectral crossbow forward, ready to begin the hunt. A glowing projectile shoots from his crossbow toward a wyvern. The glowing bolt strikes the leg of a red wyvern flying in the sky. Yu Qiaomen fires multiple bolts from his crossbow at a high-flying red wyvern. He keeps pouring out arrows, but then a bolt bounces off the red wyvern's scales, leaving him shocked. "Why did the arrow bounce off like that?" he exclaims, clearly taken aback. He stands defensively, holding a glowing sword and shield, cursing as he realizes his calculations were somehow wrong. 2 red wyverns circle above him, but he grimly states he can deal with 2 of them. Suddenly, a red wyvern crashes into the ground, creating a large impact. He stands alert, breathing heavily, utterly frustrated. "FCK, why is it like this today?" Our now cursed player readies his spectral crossbow with a focused, determined expression, vowing not to let his guard down this time. His face contorts as if he's about to sneeze, his mouth open. Then he sneezes violently, accidentally firing his crossbow. The accidental shot hits a target in the sky, surprising several red wyverns. He looks panicked as 3 wyverns surround him in the air, realizing he is overwhelmed by their numbers. Yu Qiaomen clutches his glowing spear with a determined expression, thinking that giving up is absolutely not an option because his failure would be broadcasted live. Suddenly, 3 red wyverns breathe fire down at him, an unprecedented event. He performs an agile mid-air flip to evade the massive stream of fire, wondering why 3 wyverns are simultaneously using a rare, strenuous skill like breath attacks. Grimacing, he decides there's no time to calculate cooldowns, and he'll use all his ultimate skills and finishing moves. He stands at the center of a swirling magical force, while wyverns surround him. He stands winded in a clearing littered with the bodies of fallen wyverns, panting heavily. He remarks that despite being a little unlucky, it actually turned out well, managing to catch 5 wyverns in almost an hour. Smiling confidently, he plans to finish the last one with 1 more hit, aiming to set a record in the 4-hour range for an even bigger splash. He scoffs at the wyvern's last efforts, preparing to counter. He leaps back to position himself for a finishing counterattack, calling it a textbook situation where it's impossible to make a mistake. Then to his shock, he accidentally steps on a nest of wyvern eggs, crying, "Ha ha, fuck, seriously." The wyvern eggs crack open, revealing hatchlings that immediately begin to cry. Yu Qiaomen looks in panic as he lists the absurd probabilities of his situation. Wyverns laying eggs on the ground, stepping on a hatching egg, and a flock of wyverns hearing the cries. He yells in frustration, "FUCCKK? Fuck," adding the improbable luck of not landing a single critical hit during an hour of hunting. He activates a defensive barrier, deciding it's better to be utterly humiliated than to die, choosing to give up the mission. On stage, three idol-like girls perform a heart gesture, cheering for him not to fall, as a system message confirms his mission failed and he's exiting the tower. Yu Qiaoman teleports onto the stage in front of the cheering idols, mid-slogan. He drinks a recovery potion, looking exhausted, while a man in a suit looks at him anxiously. The interviewer gestures for applause, announcing his return. As Yu Qiaoman stands up, the interviewer questions him about the raid results, noting there's still a lot of time left. Yu Qiaoman looks at the interviewer with an angry and shocked expression on his face, asking, "EEH?" Later, Yu Qiaoman sits on a bench in deep distress after failing his raid, repeatedly cursing his terrible luck. Meanwhile, Bong Juhyuk, the real one, is pulled away by companions after successfully clearing the Korean Black Tower with S++ ranked 31 times in a row, with the narrator urging the tower to endure. And player Nam Gi-eun continues her impressive streak, clearing the 64th floor Dark District in just 3 hours. Back at the USA Department of Homeland Security headquarters, someone asks if they want to rent the Holy Sword. A man in a suit speaks with a director, explaining that player Gerald keeps pestering them to use the Holy Sword as soon as possible, wanting to repeatedly clear the 66th floor. The director notes that they will request it officially through diplomatic channels. Antonio, the tower raid director, asks about the nature of the contact received. He talks to someone in the room, holding a pen. He shows a surprised expression while listening to new information. The director then shows a devious smirk, thinking that they have to wring out as much as possible, and planning to extract the rental fee for the Holy Sword from Japan as well, dragging out negotiations until Japan's collapse deadline. Overseas news is still tearing into Yu Qiaoman for his consecutive tower failures, a spectacle Bong Juhyuk and his summons watch, almost pitying him. But our wimpy summoner quickly decides it's just karma for all of Qiaoman's past freeloading and media antics. Enough about him, though. Today it's their turn to clear the 32nd floor. His summoned companions, including the Princess Warrior and Meatball, are already strategizing their next move, mostly about their favorite ice cream flavors. The princess even threatens to cry if she doesn't get her way, while the other summons look on, eagerly awaiting their treat. Our gacha boy, however, stops her, reminding his summons that a great gentleman like him needs their help, and so a deal is quickly made. Entering the 32nd floor, Juhyuk is immediately intimidated by a massive Minotaur King, who's a terrifying 6 meters tall. This monster is twice as big as Meatball, and our timid tower player shivers, wondering if he can really back out now. With his Princess Warrior's buffs and debuffs, and Meatball already clearing out the surrounding monsters, plus Cossack on standby, our reluctant hero decides it would be weirder if he couldn't pull it off with all this support. He leaps into action, unleashing the primordial Thunderstaff's third form, the Falling Thunder Flash, an incredibly fast and powerful move. Its impact is absolutely electrifying, giving him an intense thrill. After his initial strikes, the buffed Meatball and Cossack quickly finish off the remaining enemies, securing an S++ clear. The next day, a system notification congratulates Juhyuk on achieving an S++ rank for the 32nd floor, while his companions celebrate another successful clear. Meanwhile, at the Korean Management Department, officials discuss Juhyuk's unprecedented success. Despite initial concerns, they acknowledge his talent, especially since players like Yu Qiaoman cleared higher floors without a holy sword. He's just received his 33rd consecutive S++ clear, making him an undeniable anomaly. Our gacha boy then finds a new reward, a perception-blocking talisman, which makes its bearer appear as an ordinary passerby. With this, his summons can finally wander outside with him, beyond the tower and his home. Having already banked 3 billion won, our wimpy summoner is ready to finally flex a little. On their first outdoor adventure, the talisman clearly works, though Meatball still catches the eye of a young woman, who finds him surprisingly cute. The effect is definitely working, as no one freaks out over a 3-meter giant strolling down the street. As a reward for their hard work clearing the 32nd and 33rd floors, our benevolent summoner tells his companions to order as much expensive meat as they like. The next day, Meatball and Cossack are overflowing with loyalty, ready to repay his grace with all their spirit. But on the 34th floor, they're met with Stage 4 Minotaurs, who are now nearing a colossal 6 meters in height. Our nervous Noodleman is completely freaked out by their size, and wonders if he can just focus attacks on their lower bodies. Admitting he's hit his limit, our timid tower player asks Cossack to handle it instead. Cossack praises his quick decision and prepares for battle. He instructs Meatball to interlock his fingers, forming a platform for a powerful jump. Our gacha boy runs towards the action, as Cossack steps onto Meatball's hands, ready to launch. But in a chaotic turn, our wimpy summoner finds himself suddenly launching through the air, shrieking in panic as he realizes he's not stopping. Clutching his weapon, he feels completely screwed, trying desperately to calm down mid-flight. He reassures himself that his levels will prevent a fatal fall, but still screams, plummeting toward the ground. Then a sudden realization dawns on our unexpectedly airborne summoner. Sometimes when he fell into a trance, he felt like he was stepping on air. As he imagines it, a glowing energy manifests at his feet like thruster rockets. He steps confidently onto the thin air, and then laughs in delight because he can truly walk on air. Our skywalking summoner confidently glides through the air, while his summoned heroes below look up in utter amazement. They marvel at his midair shadow step, a technique they thought was just a myth, as he glides through the air as effortlessly as a feather. Cossack explains that walking on air is the legendary peak of shadow step, leaving the other summons in disbelief. They realize our summoner Bong's talent is truly immense. He then lands, ready to face a monster, and unleashes a powerful lightning strike that cracks down like a whip across the monster's hide. Using the attack's recoil, he manages a perfect landing, sticking it like a gymnast nailing the dismount, then comically wonders if he wet himself from the excitement. His summoned heroes are dazzled by his performance, praising his talent. Our nervous noodleman, a bit embarrassed, admits his hair stood on end from worry. After clearing the 34th floor, our jackpot player not only levels up, but gasps as a rare summon grade-up rune drops as a regular reward. Congratulating his team on a job well done, he knows they can now challenge the 35th floor. Back home, Meatball expresses his craving for delicious Korean beef, looking like he's in more pain than during a tower clear. Unable to stand it, our benevolent summoner offers Meatball a glowing mana stone. Meatball is shocked, then bursts into tears of gratitude, pulling our gacha boy into a tight, hairy hug, leaving him to shriek about getting hair in his mouth. Meanwhile, at the Chinese Special Information Department headquarters, the deputy director is informed that over half their forcibly naturalized tower resources have gone missing. He furiously curses them as useless bastards, then reviews a list of South Korean elite players. He instructs his subordinate to pick a suitable, non-famous rookie to bring in, and to leave absolutely no evidence. The official sneers at Japan's public humiliation from openly forcing naturalization, declaring that China can just kidnap a player if they need one. Back with Juhyuk, his catalog shows dull barbarian Meat Shield as currently unable to be summoned. Our gacha boy panics at the mention of deletion, crying that he doesn't want Meatball deleted. Summon then explains that a pure soul is necessary for a successful upgrade. It's actually a grade up, turning Meatball into an SSR grade summon just like Cossack. Our surprised summoner chokes, not quite believing Meatball could reach Cossack's rank. Then a new worry sets in. What if Meatball comes back even larger than he is now? He frets about needing more rooms, already looking for an even bigger place despite just moving. At a cafe, our calculating hero learns about the upcoming 66th floor raid. Meanwhile, one of his companions tearfully wishes to hold Nam Gyeon's hand, prompting a rebuke. As cakes and drinks are served, team leader Jeon calls, congratulating Juhyuk on his record-breaking 34th consecutive S++ clear, then offers him a penthouse. Our penthouse ponder is shocked, wondering if they found out Cossack visited the previous one. He asks if it's for free, and is told it's a thank you for renting out the holy sword at a low price. The house is described as magnificent, worthy of his status, even with a rooftop garden. Initially, he considers taking it, but then our calculating hero thinks if he takes it for free, he might be unable to refuse a desperate request later. Accepting anything from them would make it harder to say no. He triumphantly decides to refuse, but then quickly researches the apartment, wondering if it's around 2 billion won. His eyes bulge at the price, a staggering 20 billion. Cossack notices our nervous noodle man doesn't look well. Suddenly, he starts making frantic excuses for not needing such a big apartment, listing chores, maintenance fees, bugs, and even the long walk to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Meanwhile, Cossack exchanges a wary look with another man in the cafe, noticing something amiss. He picks up the thick scent of blood and sees scars on two men's hands. There's a faint smell of gunpowder, and they're carrying guns. Cossack immediately recognizes them as assassins, his kind, and wonders if their presence near our gacha boy's studio apartment is a coincidence, especially with their mark of tracking, skill visibly active above their heads. As Juhyuk calls out to him, Cossack smiles and reluctantly leaves, his suspicions confirmed. Over in the Awakening Management Department, a warrior woman in armor known as Nam Gyeon is deep in meditation, contemplating the holy sword, which she knows is essential for neutralizing dark auras. But she also understands she can't rely on it alone. He pushes her mind to its limits, mentally battling countless shadowy undead, swinging her blade against a legion of specters and cutting down dark mummies, zombies, and skeletons. Our dedicated warrior recounts hundreds of them falling before her, and then, with eyes snapping open, she declares her image training complete. She quickly assures the two officials watching that she'll be right back, stepping into a blue portal as one of them cautions her to be careful. It turns out Gyeon is entering the 66th floor of Korea's Black Tower, holy sword in hand, facing off against a menacing, glowing specter, and she lunges forward with a powerful shout. 10 hours later, she teleports back into the room, panting as a colleague rushes over, but despite her exhaustion, Gyeon gives a confident thumbs up. The officials are amazed to see the system interface confirm she's cleared the 66th floor, giving her 71 more days to complete the 67th. Everyone in the room celebrates their success, cheering excitedly, and the news even makes it to broadcast, announcing her achievement to the country. On camera, Nam Gyeon humbly credits the citizens' support, and once again, thanks the mysterious owner who lent her the holy sword. Our gacha boy, Bong Juhyuk, watches the interview on his phone looking quite pleased. He's clearly surprised and happy by the news, but then he checks his holographic summon catalog, planning to reach the 35th floor soon, when he notices Meatball's unable to summon indicator is suddenly gone. Our wimpy summoner is completely shocked, staring wide-eyed at his screen as the restriction disappears. He immediately reaches out his hand, excitedly calling for his dull barbarian meat shield to summon, and a bright light appears as the summon materializes, making him wonder if it's an SR or even an SSR. Then our gacha boy stares in utter confusion, barely managing to welcome Mr. Meatball back, because the summoned warrior standing before him is definitely not the Meatball he remembers. The muscular, tattooed figure, who now just calls himself Ordinary Dull, smiles warmly, grateful to be called. While elsewhere, Joan Dalray stares in utter confusion at a notification panel, realizing she's been designated and summoned herself. Loyal Cossack is freaking out, asking Summoner Bong if he's decided to reveal their existence to others. But our summoner just points to the muscular warrior and explains that this is Meatball, who went up 2 grades thanks to the rune, leaving Cossack dumbfounded. Still skeptical, Juhyuk asks the large warrior to recite the 3 principles of the summoned, and Meatball struggles, remembering only that Principle 1 involves protecting the summoner's life. As for Principle 2, Meatball just fumbles, unable to recall it, confirming to Juhyuk that it truly is his old Meatball, just with a new body. With Meatball back, our gacha boy suggests they finally enter the tower again, a proposal Cossack and Princess Joan Dalray readily accept. Soon after, the group steps into the 34th floor of the Black Tower, where they face off against several massive Minotaur-like monsters. Our buff Meatball immediately volunteers to take the lead, but our wimpy summoner worries that at 190 cm, he's too frail to be a tank, especially compared to his original 300 cm height. Meatball assures him he already received Princess Joan Dalray's buffs, and she confirms she's ready to prepare more, as he adds that he just wants to test his improved body's power. Meatball kneels, ready to charge forward with full confidence, and our gacha boy hesitantly agrees to let him try. But just in case, our cautious summoner whispers to John Cossack to be ready to intervene at a moment's notice. The new Meatball then lunges toward the Minotaur monsters in a sudden burst of power, leaving Juhyuk shocked and wondering why he's drawing so much aggro instead of hunting them one by one. Meatball charges forward at incredible speed, then lands and in a flash begins transforming back into his original massive form. Our summoner is completely flabbergasted by Meatball's new size, realizing he's now almost as big as a Minotaur at 4 to 5 meters tall. Meatball launches a powerful flying kick at a Minotaur, proving he didn't just get smaller, he actually became even more reliable. The Minotaur reels from the impact of Meatball's attack, and he lands another powerful blow on a different Minotaur. Meatball unleashes a fierce roar, continuing his relentless assault, punching a Minotaur directly in the chest, making it cry out in pain. Cossack notes that Meatball is now stupid while fighting, but our master quickly fires back that he's actually pretty cool. Loyal Cossack remarks that giving Meatball the summon grade-up rune was clearly a good idea, but then he explodes in frustration, calling it a scam and game-breaking because Meatball is twice as strong despite Cossack using a rune too, demanding it be cancelled. Princess Joan Dalray scolds Cossack for such ugly thoughts in front of their young master, reminding him it's a joyful occasion that Juhyuk is much safer now. Our gacha boy tries to comfort Cossack, asking Joan Dalray not to speak so harshly, to which Cossack responds with a sniffling Summoner Bong. Joan Dalray immediately looks ashamed and apologetic, vowing to accept punishment for disturbing his peace. But our master just tells them to hurry, surprising Joan Dalray, who still looks a bit embarrassed. Cossack quickly reassures Joan Dalray, holding her hand and apologizing for his harshness, while Juhyuk silently worries, hating it when his summons argue. Meanwhile, Meatball is still locked in a fierce struggle with a Minotaur, completely forgotten by the bickering summons. Our wimpy summoner gasps, realizing he totally forgot about Meatball in the heat of the moment, as Meatball roars, glowing with intense energy. He then punches a Minotaur with immense, devastating force, delivering a powerful downward strike that sends the monster flying. Meatball moves in a blur, effortlessly defeating multiple Minotaurs. With the last of the monsters defeated, and a spirit projection glowing around him, the system confirms they've successfully completed the 34th floor. Meatball confidently declares the 34th floor too easy for an SSR like him, and our gacha boy smiles, realizing S++ clears won't be a problem from now on either. Back at Juhyuk's luxurious penthouse, his newly buffed Meatball, Princess Joan Dalray, and our summoner are relaxing with ice cream. Though Meatball now boasts upgraded firepower in a more compact form, he's still aggressively wolfing down his treat. Our new Meatball quickly licks his ice cream clean, making a mess, and our gacha boy watches him with a worried expression, wondering why nothing has really changed about his behavior. Meanwhile, Loyal Cossack, now with a sharp-featured, armored look, practices sword maneuvers by a large window, telling Meatball he's splashing ice cream everywhere. He then stares silently, his blue eyes glowing, clearly unimpressed. Princess Joan Dalray, ever loyal, looks toward the conversation and quickly jumps to Meatball's defense, insisting that thanks to him, Summoner Bong is much safer and she's happy about it. Meatball just finishes licking his bowl clean, while our master looks on with his own untouched dessert. Suddenly, Cossack bursts into tears of joy, moved by Jeon Dalray's words declaring he's touched. Still wiping tears, he asks our gacha boy if there's anything else he needs, wanting to be of service. A cautious summoner then asks about the designated summon cooldown, wondering why there's a 3-hour wait before he can resummon anyone. Cossack just laughs, leaving our master staring at him in confusion. Our gacha boy, needing to attend a meeting, resorts to dragging Cossack by his collar to stop him from following, while Jeon Dalray looks on in concern. A slick official in a suit waits next to a car parked in front of a modern glass building, thanking our reluctant hero for coming all the way there. As he exits the car, our master scratches his head, admitting that getting a ride isn't the problem. It's leaving his summons behind that's the real struggle. Inside an office, our summoner sits on a couch across from the official, who assures him there's no burden in providing him transportation. Our cautious summoner gives a thumbs up, seemingly satisfied. The official then asks about the penthouse deed transfer, and our gacha boy reiterates his refusal, saying it's too much pressure, and he'd rather earn the money to buy it himself. The official considers his refusal, humming thoughtfully, and our master feels guilty about turning down their generous offer. The official then looks determined, and our gacha boy asks what's going on. He reveals that U.S. player Gerald Watson is scheduled to visit Korea in a few days, surprising our summoner. Gerald Watson is shown as a heroic warrior, with dreadlocks and glowing blue flames on his sword. Our gacha boy asks why he's sharing this information, confused by the connection. Then the official drops the number, 10 million, making our master's eyes widen as he panics that it can't be won. The official clarifies it's roughly 13 billion won, making our master freak out about the staggering amount. The official gravely says he'll try to stall the U.S. negotiation team. Our gacha boy's face twists in pure anxiety, like a squeezed lemon, wondering what this guy is talking about and frantically worrying about the deal falling through if pride gets in the way. He gestures wildly, insisting they must grab this rare inquiry from their global neighbors, because $10 million is more than enough. Our new millionaire pleads for them to take that amount and lend it out. Later, our gacha boy stands in his doorway, casting a shadow into the sleek modern hallway. He collapses onto his hands and knees, completely overwhelmed by his sudden wealth. Tears of joy stream down his face as he imagines money raining down, happily declaring his 2 billion won salary is now just pocket money, telling his mom he finally made it. He excitedly kicks off his shoes, bounding into his apartment. Happily eating ramen at his table, our master decides to save the tuna sashimi for his summons later, perfectly content with just ramen for now. As night falls over the city skyline, hours pass. Our gacha boy yawns, preparing for bed, but loyal Cossack has been summoned and is waiting patiently on the sofa. Cossack salutes as Juhyuk walks away, still seated in the apartment, ready to stand guard. He looks on with a confident smile, clearly up to something. Our loyal guardian then falls asleep on the couch, or so it seems. Bright, magical light manifests in the dark living room, indicating his true purpose. Cossack is actually awake, standing on a rooftop overlooking the city, revealing that the tracking mark he uses has no physical form, so Earth's humans can't detect or remove it. He explains that he planted these microscopic magic shards on 2 suspicious bastards yesterday, and has found them monitoring the office all day. Cossack looks at his reflection in a large window, seething at the thought of anyone spying on Summoner Bong's residence. His eyes glow intensely as he declares he knows where those 2 bastards are staying. Meanwhile, in a dark, sparsely furnished room with a computer, danger looms. A man in a suit speaks into his phone in a hallway, confirming details about an operative. Inside a meeting room, several men in suits discuss player contracts, noting that one signed an elite team contract 3 months ago and reached the 30th floor. Another man asks who's next on their list. Hand holds up a photograph of our gacha boy, revealing he signed his elite team contract a little over 2 months ago. They also discuss Captain Deng Guanlin of the Northeast Special Forces Brigade, confirming he has no problems. Suddenly, chaos erupts as 2 severed heads roll across the floor of the room. A close-up shows one of the severed heads, a gruesome sight. Men in the room react in shock, pointing guns and shouting about an intruder they need to find and kill. Several men in suits flee in terror from a bald man holding a paper bag, cursing in fear. A man with dark hair smiles, holding a phone, standing next to the bald assailant, enjoying the mayhem. Close-up of a man's sweating face with a scar shows his disbelief, wondering since when the intruder appeared. The bald man then lunges forward with a large knife, attacking with brutal efficiency. But his knife is caught by a bare hand, and it shatters. A man in black clothing effortlessly deflects the knife, injuring the bald assailant, revealing his incredible strength. Men in suits point their guns at the intruder, demanding to know who he is. The bald man, clutching his bleeding arm, screams for them to shoot the bastard right now. Our bloodthirsty buddy John Cossack leaps into a warehouse like a vengeful spirit, taking on armed men who don't stand a chance. His swift, blurry strikes landing without effort, and his glowing blade leaving his opponents recoiling in agony. With a swift maneuver, he disarms them all, leaving their weapons useless. Severed hands literally fall through the air amidst his flurry of slashes, leaving his elite assassin enemies incapacitated and bleeding on the floor, while he just looks amused. He's treating these top-tier agents like kids, performing acrobatics as they wonder if they're dreaming. Scar-faced man stares in shock, trying to process this superhuman strength from someone who isn't a Black Tower player, because this kind of power is only seen in raid videos from inside the towers, not out on the streets. But even if he is a player, the man can't fathom how Cossack is using his power outside the tower, as our volatile assassin looms over them. John Cossack, with a bored and arrogant expression, simply acknowledges the question. He holds his glowing blade to the man's throat, demanding he say, "I'm sorry" in Korean, promising to let him live if he complies. But before the terrified man can even finish his apology, John Cossack strikes him down. Our bloodthirsty buddy looks down with a cold, intimidating expression, declaring he'd never forgive him. Severed head with a red ribbon rests on the floor, a grim testament to daring to mess with him. John Cossack walks away from the fresh kill, leaving the gruesome scene behind, and vanishes from the room with a swift movement. Later, he blurs into existence before our wimpy summoner, anxiously wondering if Bong Joo-hyuk will hate him for this. Joo-hyuk immediately reacts in shock, scolding him for killing people again, and reminding him he doesn't need uncontrollable party members. But the panicked killer quickly shifts to a cheerful salute, hoping to distract his master with a casual question about yesterday. Our cautious commander, completely unaware of the massacre Cossack just committed, casually asks about Cossack's fun soccer match, while our volatile assassin quickly spins a story about being too focused to remember, right as our brawny brawler Meatball loudly declares his intent to kill everything on the 35th floor. The system confirms their entry to the 35th floor, tasking them with defeating 80 Minotaurs and 1 Minotaur King within 13 hours. Bong Joo-hyuk watches in awe as the dungeon swarms with Minotaurs, ready for battle. But John Cossack, still nervous about being kicked out, desperately calls for buffs from Princess Dalray, clutching his red ribbon. Meatball, full of golden energy, charges forward, eager to take the lead, punching with glowing tattoos visible on his arm, which makes our volatile assassin leap into action with his dual daggers, declaring he'll show them what a true SSR looks like. John Cossack leaps through the air, striking a giant Minotaur, yelling at himself to be faster and more decisive. Bong Joo-hyuk watches the combat in confusion, wondering why Cossack is acting so strangely. Our panic killer continues his frenzied attack, screaming at the Minotaur to shut up. Seeing both Cossack and Meatball going at it at insane speed, our wimpy summoner sprints forward, determined to catch up and grab a few kills himself. He moves rapidly across the dungeon corridor, showcasing his skill, grinning confidently as a prodigy who successfully uses shadow step midair. He then lands a powerful magical electricity strike on a Minotaur. Suddenly, a giant Minotaur roars in pain, and the Minotaur King appears, towering over the battlefield, much to everyone's surprise. Our gacha boy stares in shock and horror, aghast that the boss is already here, crying out that they just started. But before it can fully react, the Minotaur King lunges forward with a massive attack. Our wimpy summoner delivers a powerful electrical strike to its midsection, and a bright light erupts as the Minotaur King is defeated, earning them an S++ clear rank. Bong Joo-hyuk shields his eyes from the light, startled by the swift victory. Meanwhile, outside the tower, 2 police officers stand guard at a building cordoned off with yellow tape, while a system notification confirms Bong Joo-hyuk's Platinum Badge award. A man in a suit pulls down the police tape, entering the scene to investigate the crime scene evidence scattered on the floor. He introduces himself to another agent, confirming he's there because of the call. Bong Joo-hyuk reacts with wide-eyed surprise, seeing the photos of the crime scene that somehow leaked to the public. The man in the suit points toward the photos, asking for confirmation, then kneels down grimly, confirming the terrible truth. He reacts with shock and horror, wondering how the data got leaked, especially since even player Bong's information has been compromised. He immediately instructs Chief Lee to call an emergency assembly of all executive-level personnel. Back home, our unassuming player raises his hand to interact with a glowing interface projection, deciding that an emergency meeting is probably for the best, while his summoned heroes sit on the couch. The serene summon, Princess Dalray, looks down thoughtfully, seemingly troubled by something. Our gacha boy asks if she has something on her face, but she just quietly admits she should keep her thoughts to herself, specifically about her own unusual summoning. Joo-hyuk then checks his perks, hoping for trait enhancement as he accumulates 35 platinum badges. Instead of a trait enhancement, he gets 2 items: the tower-exclusive Golden Aegis of Warm Dawn and Golden Mace of Cold Twilight, which is indestructible. He cheers excitedly, delighted by the item's great effects, like increasing attack speed and freezing targets. Meanwhile, the summoned heroes whisper anxiously among themselves, realizing they might have to cling to their young master if he gets a new, more powerful summon. They argue about the dispenser water used for Princess Dalray's summoning, wondering if something even more atrocious could come out, which has Dalray looking stressed. She insists it was just a normal dispenser, defensively stating that if she says it is, then it is. The 3 heroes sit in silence, contemplating the implication that one of them might have to step down if a more helpful being is summoned. Meatball notes that he can act as both tank and damage dealer, making him valuable. Princess Dalray adds that she has overpowered support abilities, which leaves John Cossack gulping nervously, as an assassin's position is ambiguous, and he fears that if a situation like that really comes, he's obviously the one who has to go. Our anxious summon John Cossack sits with his companions, contemplating how a more helpful summon might replace one of them. And the serene summon Princess Dalray bluntly suggests that a more useful servant should take his place. A panicked assassin despairs, thinking he's the least useful and that there must be some way to avoid this undeniable reality. He tries to suggest a continuous clear streak to the 40th floor, but our wimpy summoner cuts him off, calling his name. Princess Dalray questions if he'd want the young master to push himself just for a servant like him, making John Cossack backtrack nervously. Our anxious summon looks down in defeat, ready to gracefully step down, but our wimpy summoner points to Meatball, interrupting his resignation. He asks our brawny protector if he would step down if a perfectly equipped shield knight appeared, making Meatball groan. Then he turns to Princess Dalray, asking if she would be out if a saintess or priest appeared, making her look worried. Our determined player stands with his hands on his hips, making his point clear. John Cossack cries tears of gratitude, realizing his master is fighting for him. Bong Juhyuk declares they will go on a continuous clearing streak until they can summon 4 people simultaneously with a trait enhancement, insisting that not even a single one of them will be replaced. Princess Dalray promises to shake her bells until they crack, while Meatball vows to protect their summoner and achieve S++ ranks. Our loyal killer cheers, ecstatic to be included as the party looks on with renewed determination. Meanwhile, in a conference room, a man in a suit points at crime scene projections, continuing the investigation from the massacre. An older man with glasses explains that all 8 bodies were highly trained soldiers, and with everyone involved murdered, there's no evidence, but their suspicions point to China. The man in the suit stands before silhouettes of people, asserting they must thoroughly investigate this kidnapping organization. Back in the Black Tower, our determined player and his party enter the 36th floor, almost thankful for the murderer's actions, which spurred their training. Juhyuk asks if they're ready to push hard until the next perk, and his team eagerly confirms they are. Monsters immediately rush toward them, drawn by the human smell. Our brawny protector Meatball punches a monster squarely in the face. Meatball continues punching with incredible speed and strength. The serene summon Princess Dalray uses a spell to immobilize the wicked monsters. John Cossack looks frantic, preparing to strike with his knife, ensuring he's not the ambiguous one anymore. Our gacha boy reaches out his hand, summoning energy, determined to get that trait enhancement as the system notifies them of an S++ clear. The next day, on the 37th floor, ogres moving at the speed of light appear, but the party's momentum is unstoppable. Meatball strikes several blue ogres simultaneously, sending them flying with powerful punches. A brawny protector is still faster and stronger, grabbing an ogre by the throat while others lie defeated. Ogres cry out in frustration, blasted away by his force, yet Meatball is still faster and stronger, securing S++ clears through the 39th floor. After 5 consecutive days of hyperspeed S++ clears, causing a stir online, our young master has a place he needs to stop by before the grand 40th floor clear. Bong Juhyuk sneaks into a building lobby at 4 a.m., nervous that he might look suspicious, despite having his perception-blocking talisman. He gives a sigh of relief, reminding himself that with the talisman, it's okay to go out at dawn during these strict times. He confidently passes through security, then reaches out to flag down a passing taxi on a city street. Our gacha boy asks the taxi driver if a trip to the Gongju traditional market is possible. The taxi driver reacts with shock, then eagerly gears up, telling him to fasten your seatbelt tight, sir, before speeding off. Bong Juhyuk clutches in the back, overwhelmed as the car speeds past the Gongju traditional market entrance. He walks through the market with John Cossack, apologizing for calling him out of the bathroom, but our loyal killer reassures him, grateful for the perception-blocking talisman. Our young master points at items at a market stall, gathering supplies for their next venture. Soon, Bong Juhyuk and John Cossack stand before a monument entrance to Yuryangsan National Park, ready for their destination. Princess Dalray and our brawny protector Meatball are already waiting in the forest, acknowledging their young master. The serene summon looks upward, confirming that the special place she mentioned is still there. Meatball carries Bong Juhyuk on his shoulders, leading the way upstairs in the forest. Our determined player exclaims in delight, realizing such a wonderful place was hidden off the hiking trail. Our brawny protector reaches down to move a large, flat rock in the clearing, revealing what's beneath. Bong Juhyuk views an altar revealed under the rock, immediately instructing them to clean it thoroughly with valley water. Princess Dalray uses her blade to carefully clean the surface of the stone altar. Our gacha boy, sweating anxiously, wonders if the woman in white mourning clothes is holding a grudge about his nagging. The altar is now set with a pig's head and other food offerings in a sunny spot. Bong Juhyuk, Princess Dalray, and his summoned warriors prepare for a ritual. Princess Dalray stands, her feet glowing as she performs the ritual, beseeching the gods of heaven and earth. She floats in the air, holding her blade and prayer tool, praying that only great fortune fills young Master Bong's future. Bong Juhyuk kneels in prayer, hands clasped, flanked by his devoted summoned heroes. Soon after, the twin-head ogre on the 40th floor is taken care of at super speed as soon as it appears, leading to another S++ clear. Our young master looks nervous, warning his companions not to jinx it, as he wonders if this perk will finally be a trait enhancement. He opens his inventory, ready to check his reward. Holographic roulette wheel interface displays various reward options, revealing he's received a one-time use roulette ticket. Bong Joon-hyuk looks at the roulette wheel, searching anxiously for the trait enhancement and finds it. But to his dismay, the trait enhancement section on the roulette wheel appears to be as narrow as a needle. He tells his companions he has to spin the roulette, causing them to react in surprise. They question how narrow the section is. Suddenly, his summoned warriors start getting busy all of a sudden, making excuses like needing the bathroom or dropping a talisman. Our determined player holds up a glowing blue roulette spin ticket with a determined look. The ticket spins and glows brightly as he desperately wishes for his desired outcome. The holographic roulette interface spins rapidly, blurring with speed, as Bong Joon-hyuk shouts for simultaneous summon 4. Having finally cleared the 40th floor, our gacha boy uses his roulette ticket to make a frantic wish for a simultaneous 4-summon trait. But the roulette wheel just keeps spinning and spinning, making him so dizzy he wonders if he's losing his mind. It slows down just enough for him to see it coming, and he cheers as the needle approaches the tiny section he desperately needs, willing it to just move a little more to the right. He shouts for it to stop right on the trait enhancement, glaring at the screen with intense focus, silently threatening the roulette if it doesn't give him what he wants. And with his arms thrown wide in celebration, our nervous summoner screams, "I got it! So easy!" His companions are just as thrilled, cheering for their young master, and he tells them the summon cooldown is a week away, so they should all rest up and maybe order some chicken. Meanwhile, at the airport, a man named Gerald with striking dreadlocks is sprinting through the corridor, clearly in a massive hurry. He's practically lunging forward, shouting about how long he's waited for revenge on the dark specters, while a balding man tries to hold him back, pleading for him to calm down. Gerald dismisses him, focused on the record set by Korea's player Nam Gi-eun, determined to at least match her 10-hour clear time. The balding man watches him go, sighing about Gerald's impulsive nature, but then he yells for the rest of their group to run after him. They meet with Jeon Gwang-il, who introduces himself while leading them to a massive circular vault door, telling them it's where the holy sword is stored, and inviting them to enter. Inside, as the glowing sword stands in its display, Jeon Gwang-il insists they pay the rental fee first, with Antonio depositing $10 million right away. Gerald takes the glowing holy sword, and Jeon Gwang-il comments that he must be in a big rush, probably about to lose it or something. Grinning, Gerald enters the 66th floor of the Black Tower in America, with a mission to defeat 10 dark specters within 15 hours. He immediately goes to battle a massive, swirling purple shadow monster, vowing to take them down one by one, and he's genuinely surprised at how fast he's clearing, wondering if this is truly the 66th floor. Gerald feels completely satisfied, despite the holy sword costing them $20 million to rent for a mere test run, knowing he'll definitely rent it again. Back home, our reluctant master is just lying flat on his bed, arms outstretched, staring blankly at the ceiling. A woman in traditional robes, Princess Dalray, tells him that the heavens are wary of greed, and since he's already received great fortune from the ritual, he should proceed with a peaceful mind. But our gacha boy just rolls around on his bedroom floor, thinking that even with all his money, he still just makes do with cup ramen. Later, he observes his designated summoned heroes, including John Cossack and Jeon Dalray, telling them it's the day he sees the fruits of his labor. He notices their grim faces, wondering if they're nervous about a new summon potentially overlapping their roles. Deciding to just get it over with, our nervous summoner activates a random summon. He's immediately confused, noting the portal light is much smaller than usual, and then a small creature with a construction helmet pops out. Staring down at the tiny new summon, our wimpy hero can only blurt out, "A hamster." His other heroes look down at the hamster with obvious relief, noting its small, round shape and lack of role overlap. The R-grade hamster worker, Razix, looks up at Joon-hyuk with tears in his eyes, asking if he should just go back. Our gacha boy gently holds Razix, apologizing and promising to call him again later, then decides to use his 2 remaining tickets, calling the situation anticlimactic and unsummoning Razix. His companions encourage him, saying this time it'll go well, and our nervous summoner agrees, activating the next summon. He's shocked as a bright purple portal forms, completely different from what he's seen before, and then he explodes with joy, yelling, "This is insane! I actually got an LSSR!" Realizing he can enter the tower twice a day now. Tall Taoist Immortal appears, leaving our reluctant master speechless. He's relieved the summon is polite, but finds the catalog description a bit ominous. Then a jolt of shock hits his face as he floats in the air, experiencing the summon's entire backstory. He watches as the mad demon breaks a taboo, surrounded by roaring flames. He sees the legendary warrior, Guang Ma, sitting on a golden throne, pierced by multiple swords after 7 days and nights of arduous battle. Our gacha boy reacts with horror, calling it vicious, but acknowledging Guangma must be incredibly good at fighting to have died from the combined attacks of 3 major alliance leaders. He tries to introduce Guangma to his other heroes, but notices everyone is frozen, creating an awkward atmosphere. Guangma stands up looking disdainful and flatly states, "Forget it. I have no desire to exchange words with such lowly creatures." He then turns to our summoner, asking how many towers have collapsed in this world so far and what the highest floor reached is. Juhyuk stammers, completely nervous, as Guangma explains how a collapsed tower drives deep into the earth like a giant nail, altering the world. Guangma then asks what the foulest part of conquering the towers is, not bothering to wait for an answer before declaring that with him, our summoner can leave the rabble to the side. Terrified Juhyuk asks what he means, and Guangma's face distorts into a deranged smirk as he declares, "World conquest. Of course, I'll put this world beneath your feet, summoner." Our wimpy hero's expression is pure terror, stammering that Guangma must be crazy. Guangma begins to walk away, reaching for a window frame, ignoring Juhyuk's panicked order not to. He states he'll be right back, and his first order of business is to eradicate the country's politicians and place our summoner at the pinnacle of power. His other heroes immediately react, shouting for him to stop, asking if the old man is crazy. Guangma turns back, his eyes glowing menacingly, radiating intense killing intent. He threatens to slice one of them up as a warning. Standing with his back to the viewer, facing the crazed LSSR, our summoner now understands everything. Panicked, he shouts, "Unsummon Guangma, damn it!" A moment later, his other summoned heroes are playfully tossing the little hamster, Razix, in the air, who looks utterly confused by the turn of events. Above Incheon International Airport, an airplane glides through the sky as a quiet road leads into the modern terminal. Inside, a man in a suit is speaking with a business associate, admitting he wasn't completely satisfied with their recent deal. The bald man in a suit looks toward Mr. Jian, mentioning he's heard some good news about him, and Mr. Jian reacts with a slightly worried expression, noting how quickly information travels. Suddenly, a surge of orange flames erupts, a dramatic backdrop to 2 businessmen shaking hands, as one casually comments that the owner of the Holy Sword isn't even an S++ rank record holder anyway. The bald man waves goodbye with a pleasant smile, wishing them a safe trip back. As 3 men walk toward an airport gate, they discuss how the U.S. is currently raiding the 67th floor, facing an undead Phantom Reaper. Mr. Jian, a muscular man with a sword on his back, smiles happily, thinking about how thrilled player Bong will be with the $20 million they made from this U.S. visit. Meanwhile, at our Gacha boy's house, a cartoonish hamster in a construction uniform suddenly leaps into the air, like a popcorn kernel exploding, surprising a woman and 2 men in the room. The hamster Razix zooms past them, a tiny blur of energy. He's cleaning dust in every corner, taking out the trash, organizing, and our nervous summoner watches in shocked disbelief as items magically go back to their places. Razix zips around, gathering laundry and running the washing machine, while kitchen utensils levitate, washing dishes and even removing water stains by themselves. As Razix finishes cleaning, our reluctant master praises him enthusiastically for being so amazing. Female companion embraces our tiny cleaner, noting how impressively he cleaned up the mess the meatball hero made, calling him worthy of the title chief servant. Razix sits happily by a jar of snacks, content with his hard work, but our gacha boy discreetly whispers to his companions, asking them what they think. His party, while admitting he's cute and cleans well, agrees that Razix is too weak to be helpful in climbing the tower, suggesting they keep him around until the random summon cooldown resets in 30 days. Suddenly, Razix appears right behind them, shocking our summoner and his companion. Our nervous summoner immediately feigns enthusiasm, pretending to have praised the idea. Relieved Razix didn't hear them. Later, entering the 41st floor of the Black Tower in Korea, they face a massive reptilian ironclad basilisk, described as a mix between a crocodile and a lizard. Its gaze can instantly freeze a human, but our heroes are ready, not needing any countermeasure items. Warrior strikes the basilisk with a powerful glowing punch, turning the mission into a scene of monster abuse. Our summoner stretches his arm and wrists, getting ready for the fight, standing alongside one of his powerful warriors. He then looks panicked, asking what's happening now, as Razix, dressed in a construction hat and overalls, stands proudly nearby. Our nervous summoner admits he's a bit worried about Razix, recalling the memory he saw of the frail hamster servant being eaten by a monster in his past life, wondering if it would be better for his other summons to look after the little guy. But his female warrior with her long black hair is busy leaping into the air like an Olympic high jumper, declaring, "I shall tie down the lizard's feet." She swings her sword through the air, while a muscular fighter strikes the giant basilisk with a glowing punch. A cloaked assassin also strikes the basilisk from above, leaving our money-minded master to realize his heroes are too busy, so he'll have to look after Razix himself. He tells Razix to stick right by his side, but then reacts in shock. "Our Razix? He was right next to me a second ago." He looks over to see Razix hiding behind the giant basilisk's body, wondering when he even got over there. Our summoner lunges forward to grab Razix, only for the little worker to disappear again. He finds Razix rolling quickly under a tree, asking what he's even doing. Then Razix is suddenly near a rock, and our gacha boy wonders how he's so fast with those short legs. The industrious hamster continues rolling away at high speed. Our summoner gasps as a system notification appears, announcing an S++ clear for the 41st floor and a platinum badge reward. His summoned heroes congratulate each other on a job well done. But our frustrated master complains that the raid ended while he was just chasing Razix around. He gripes internally, "Good job, my foot. I didn't even have to take out my weapon." Then he notices Razix is suddenly crying intensely, holding his backpack. Our summoner asks Razix why he's crying, and the little worker replies that the raid ended too quickly. Razix continues to cry, putting items into his bag as Juhyuk watches. He discovers Razix has gathered plants and herbs, along with basilisk leather and at least 20 kilograms of mana stones. Staring at the pile of items, our money-minded master asks if all of this came from the tower, then asks in pure shock, "That was actually possible." He smiles nervously, sweating as he processes this information, realizing that if gathering items inside the tower was possible, there wouldn't have been such a shortage of materials. Flashback explains how, in the early days, players tried to bring items out by putting them in their inventory, or even just holding them in their hands. But it all resulted in failure, with only randomly obtained monster drops making it out. His companion playfully stretches Razix's cheeks, and our gacha boy observes. Razix waves happily near a glowing portal. Then Juhyuk reacts with intense shock and realization, exclaiming, "T10 times." He becomes ecstatic, floating numbers appearing behind him, practically hearing the sound of his balance going up with all these precious items. He leans towards Razix, asking if they can go back right now, even though entering the tower is only allowed once a day. Our newly rich hero smiles, a mix of regret and relief, thinking how he almost kicked this precious person out just because his combat power was low. He realizes Razix's tower gathering ability completely outclasses an LSSR, and that he must have been crazy, so he loudly declares, "Onwards, Meatball Palanquin," as he rides his giant muscular hero back into the tower with Razix. Another warrior escorts Razix into the portal, prioritizing their new source of money. Our money-minded master tells his summons to take it easy for Razix's sake, and they vow to drag out the fight, killing the lizard slowly and moving alongside their tiny worker. Razix, sporting a hard hat with ears and fans, leads the way through the forest, a true professional on the job. But suddenly the ironclad basilisk appears, its massive claw smashing the ground, and it lets out a mighty roar. One of our muscular summons unleashes a powerful attack, striking the basilisk with immense force, sending it reeling and slamming it into the ground with a devastating blow. Our summon stands triumphantly over the defeated beast, but poor Razix cries out, distressed by the mess. His companions round on our wimpy summoner, knowing he's caused trouble again, and Juhyuk nervously explains he merely caught the basilisk. Razix sadly inspects the ruined basilisk hide, completely torn up from the relentless smashing. Juhyuk holds up his glowing golden mace, wondering if it isn't time he got to use it properly, and declares he'll hunt one cleanly so the hide doesn't get ruined. But his summons, including Razix, immediately scold him, telling him not to bother with the hunting, so he devises a meticulous routine. Gion Dalray casts confusion, then Meatball breaks its legs to stop its movements. And finally, John Cossack delivers a clean finishing blow. The defeated basilisk lies on the ground, pristine and ready for harvest. Juhyuk wonders how Razix will skin it with such a small frame, but our tiny worker confidently declares the basilisk ready, and proceeds to skillfully skin the hide with incredible precision. A bright light surrounds the process as the hide is perfectly harvested, finishing with a purple energy effect. Juhyuk is amazed, impressed by the skill even if he doesn't understand it, wondering how something so cute could be so brutal. His summoned heroes cheer for Razix, and just like that, they get a second, then a third, and ultimately a seventh hide. Razix announces he's done, because his bag is full, making Juhyuk realize that even a worker's backpack has its limits, especially for huge basilisk hides. Monster leather itself is incredibly rare and expensive, with celebrities and the wealthy striving for just one product, but supply is always short. Our gacha boy thinks that if he fed Razix a summon grade-up rune, the strongest worker in history could be born, a thought that just crossed his mind. Back at the tower entrance, the team celebrates their great success, with a haul of 7 basilisk hides, 1 scrap, 50 kilograms of mana stones worth 25 million won, and various medicinal herbs. Razix proudly points out that these are freshly picked raw herbs, not dried ones. Juhyuk calculates the number of items and Razix confirms he can bring 10 times more, making Juhyuk realize it's more like 100 times more. He moves everything to his inventory, which instantly fills up halfway. But rather than his inventory, the real problem is the chaos at home, as his summons make a mess, with Meatball causing particular trouble. Juhyuk sits on the sofa, stressed about moving, realizing any decent-sized place is 5 to 10 billion won, and even that doesn't feel like enough. He stares at a luxury penthouse on his phone, wishing he could live in such a place. Suddenly, he gets an instant notification, reading news that the US rented a tower facility twice, and realizes $20 million means 26 billion won. He trembles with excitement, realizing he can now afford that penthouse. Our penthouse prince kneels on the floor, praying to the country of heroes, declaring the USA the GOAT and professing his love for Brother Gerald. He claps his hands together in celebration, looking off-panel. Razix and his companion react, the female summon bowing her head. Juhyuk shows his summons the palace-like penthouse he saw earlier, and while one is touched, another asks if he wasn't worried about managing a big house. Our tiny worker quickly runs across the floor, making Juhyuk smile and realize they won't have any worries about cleaning after all. He asks Mr. Razix if there's anything he wants to eat. An elder laughs mysteriously, reflecting on the stormy day where busts became jackpots and jackpots became busts, dismissing conquest as absurd, as his companion offers to feed them to Razix. The hamster-like creature happily eats a carrot, confirming they don't need an LSSR because they already have their treasure trove. Juhyuk arrives home, greeted by his father holding a phone who declares his son is here. His father then proudly shows off a huge fish, laughing that catching something like this means his hip joints must be completely healed, now the spryest among his friends. Juhyuk thinks about the luck talisman and health talisman he gave his family last time, wondering if this is the effect. He's surprised by an expensive air purifier in the room, asking if his father really went all out. His father says he didn't buy it, but won it in a raffle, along with the luxurious massage chair, making Juhyuk realize the talisman's effect is working a bit too well. His brother, Minhyuk, arrives, and Juhyuk asks if anything good has happened to him lately. Minhyuk gestures, asking if he hasn't had any unexpected luck. Juhyuk recalls being short on change for coffee yesterday, and a 501 coin dropping next to a trash can, calling it crazy luck. Minhyuk says it must have been nice, then changes the subject, saying everyone seems to be doing well. Minhyuk tells Juhyuk he has an appointment, then suggests they head out together to the convenience store. Minhyuk asks if Juhyuk called a taxi, but Juhyuk replies no, and waves at an arriving limousine, shocking Minhyuk. Minhyuk looks utterly surprised. Juhyuk talks to the man inside, saying he could have gone himself, but the man replies he was passing by and remembered Juhyuk visiting his parents. The man in the suit says he's been worried since that incident, but Juhyuk seems to be doing well. Seeing his face puts the man at ease. The car drives through a dark tunnel, heading towards the management department's special material warehouse. Juhyuk expresses a bit of concern, and the man warns him he might be surprised. Juhyuk interacts with a holographic interface, and the man confidently states he wouldn't be surprised by any rare material. But then a massive monster appears, making the man scream in terror. His eye widens in extreme fear. Juhyuk falls backward in terror, boxes tumbling around him, as a large mystical creature materializes in the warehouse. Juhyuk watches it land with a heavy thud, distressed and apologetic, reminding the man he warned him beforehand. The man points, stuttering, asking if this couldn't be an ironclad basilisk, and Juhyuk proudly confirms he recognized it right away. Juhyuk explains how cool it is, a whole ironclad basilisk hide, which he just slipped off like it shed its skin. He smiles confidently, interacting with his holographic summoner interface, as the man stares in disbelief and sweat-drenched shock, asking if Juhyuk has 6 more of these incredible items, wondering who exactly this guy is. Our money magnet stands next to a massive monster hide on the floor, as the man in the suit marvels at the unprecedented raw herbs and freshly skinned whole monster hide, realizing a single hide is worth more than the awakened management department's expenses for an entire month. The man looks at Juhyuk in shock, asking if he received all these items from a single clear, wondering how he brought them out of the tower. Juhyuk scratches his head, nervously smiling, and asks how much he thinks he can get for it all. The man inspects the hide, admitting it's hard to tell right away. He touches the textured monster skin, declaring items like these are unprecedented. He kneels, examining the items, asking if Juhyuk got them from a single clear, which our gacha boy confirms. The man asks if it's just a one-time thing, his eyes widening in utter shock. He panics, wondering how, but then decides the S++ rank record holder must have his ways, resolving not to ask unnecessary questions. The diligent director then offers to purchase all the raw herbs at double the price for research, adding that for the general public, they'll sell like hotcakes. He stands up, radiating authority. He assures Juhyuk they'll handle everything on his behalf, which our summoner agrees sounds good. The man then asks for 1 whole hide as a commission fee for the management department, but Juhyuk's team quickly insists it's fine, and they aren't doing this expecting anything. Juhyuk stands up, pointing, and declares he will pay for it himself, cutting off the man who was about to transfer ownership. The man in the suit looks shocked, a drop of sweat on his face. Juhyuk smiles, insisting calculations must be kept strictly clear, so it won't bother him later on. John Cossack, Juhyuk's first summon and right-hand man, the artist of the red ribbon, begins a mission briefing. He holds a remote, explaining the missions for floors 42 to 45, cautioning about a tail blade, but saying there's nothing special about the monster. Our tiny worker raises his hand, but Cossack continues, explaining they'll skip skinning on the first clear and do it on the second. He shows images of different monsters, stating they'll skin the iron jaw and skip the thorn scale. A hand holds a remote control. He presents an image of a reptilian monster with glowing blue light, the boss of the 45th floor, where they'll be staying and repeatedly farming. A woman angrily reminds Princess Joan Dalray to ask for permission before speaking. John Cossack stands with a dramatic gesture. The woman in traditional clothing raises her hand, asking a question. She wonders if gathering wouldn't be more efficient on higher floors. Cossack explains that the monster appearing from the 46th floor onwards, a purple scorpion, has no hide, and dismantling its exoskeleton takes too much time. A determined dungeon diver makes a dramatic, excited gesture, pointing at the monster on screen, guaranteeing this guy will make them money. He looks slightly embarrassed, admitting it's not quite that bad. He speaks to a summon, saying they have to skin it and get out within a short time frame, asking worker Razix if he can do it. Bong Joo-hyuk smiles with determination, summarizing the briefing. Rush to the 45th floor, park there, and sweep up the hides, declaring they'll make some real money this time. Meanwhile, at the HG Fashion corporate building, a file labeled Wildflower Brand Sales Analysis is slapped onto a surface. CEO Go Yonha reacts with visible stress, holding her head in her hands, lamenting that their position within the HG group is already the lowest, and now they look even more ridiculous. An employee stands before her, presenting an official document from the awakened management department. The employee suggests Executive Director Park could handle something of that level. Go Yonha looks concerned as the employee bows deeply. She looks thoughtful and troubled. The male employee looks back with concern, as Go Yonha says to wait a minute. Go Yonha admits she was on edge because of Wildflower, but decides she'll go herself just to get some fresh air. She sits at her desk, clasping her hands, explaining she has a nagging feeling and no expectations, but will go to see. Back in the tower, Joo-hyuk's team stands amidst fire, with his summons complaining the wild horse is acting up again. The horse-headed man, amidst roaring flames, claims he knows they're worried, but asks if safety wasn't supposed to be first, swinging a mace. He continues running through a grassy field, yelling at them to restrain themselves, because it's been too long since he could hunt. Terrifying tail blade attack slices through the air, but our resourceful ringleader's shadow step has reached a new level of mastery. He dashes around an unseen enemy in a high-speed maneuver, and like a plummeting meteor, executes a powerful falling thunder flash strike. He glances cautiously to the side, thinking it's obvious why the clear is already over when he only caught one. Two powerful warriors stand over a pile of defeated monsters, having hunted like crazy to stop him from hunting. Chibai Joo-hyuk sighs in relief, glad he managed to catch at least one for the first time in a while. Later, a bowl of noodles is lifted with chopsticks, as the group eats dinner together in a modern kitchen. A notification screen appears over a monster hide, outlining their new plan. During re-clears, they will focus entirely on hides until Razix's bag is full, which is 7 hides. Close-up shows a monster hide being harvested, and the text explains they'll focus their repeat runs on the 43rd floor, since they can't use thorn scale hides. A close-up of a monster hide texture. Bong Joo-hyuk and his summoned companions, wearing sunglasses, stand in a line, ready for war with the basilisks. They decide to attempt gathering on both the first and second clears, hoping to obtain 2 rare rainbow hides today, within a 13-hour time limit. Joan Dalray's buff, Meatball's aggro, and Cossack's damage combine as everyone is hyper-focused. John Cossack strikes the rainbow basilisk, with Meatball and others coordinating in combat, as the kill count rapidly rises, reaching 60 basilisks. Then finally, the rainbow basilisk appears. Meatball grabs the jaw of the rainbow basilisk, urging them to hold on tight, while John Cossack maneuvers nearby. Joo-hyuk thinks that killing the boss isn't difficult, but taking it down without a single scratch is a whole different level of challenge. Razix stands on standby with his backpack, ready to spring into action at any moment, as they've practiced skinning the boss as soon as we kill it, quite a bit. John Cossack lunges at the rainbow basilisk to deliver the final blow. A bright golden aura emanates from an object during the battle, as the moment arrives. Razix swings his tool, ready to skin the rainbow basilisk with speed. Our tiny worker performs a high-speed skinning maneuver against the rainbow basilisk, and its scales are perfectly harvested in the aftermath of the battle. Razix quickly collects the rare hide into his backpack. Bong Joo-hyuk and his summoned team cheer for Razix's successful harvest, calling him the best. After their successful basilisk hunt, Bong Joo-hyuk and his summons are practicing the precise art of hide peeling, with the spectral Razix proving to be a quick study, which makes our gacha boy feel their teamwork is improving every day. Now that the practice is over, our wimpy summoner eagerly prepares to check out the perks from accumulating 45 platinum badges. As our timid tower player looks a little nervous, his summons rally around him, giving him a heartfelt encouragement buff that he claims nearly burns him, while our hero wipes a tear from his eye, as John Cossack, his self-proclaimed right-hand man, just casually munches snacks and tells him to relax. With that encouragement, Bong Joo-hyuk moves to claim his perks, nervously wondering if it's going to be another random box or roulette draw. He gets a multinational tower access ticket, which allows entry to any tower regardless of nationality. But our hero just stares at it in confusion and disappointment. And when John Cossack asks if something good dropped, Bong Joon-hyuk only sighs, wishing he'd gotten a summon grade-up rune instead. Our gacha boy then declares, "For the next 50th floor perk, let's definitely hold a shamanic ritual before drawing, just to be safe." After all that tower grinding, our summoner's team takes a well-deserved break, indulging in a massive takeout feast and some celebratory drinks. Because as Bong Joon-hyuk cheers, "When else are we going to drink if not on a day like this?" Meanwhile, Go Yeon-ha, CEO of HG Fashion, is making her way to a conference room to meet with the awakened management department. Upon entering, Go Yeon-ha quickly realizes she's the only CEO present, feeling a touch of stress, and wondering if she should just make an excuse about being busy and leave now. Just then, Deputy Commissioner Jeon Gwang-il, a rising star rumored to be the next commissioner, who led the elite team player project, makes a dramatic entrance and is credited for tying with the U.S. in number of floors climbed, appears in person, which makes Go Yeon-ha think that perhaps her attendance wasn't a waste after all. While other attendees nervously scramble to contact their CEOs, Go Yeon-ha feels a surge of conviction, and Bong Joon-hyuk, also present, listens intently to the proceedings, believing this signals a major opportunity. Go Yeon-ha then reveals her prepared presentation, hoping this will help her seize that luck, which was conceptualized with player Nam Gi-eun as its motif. Our timid tower player watches, thinking that HG Fashion's CEO, Go Yeon-ha, is quite proactive, as she confidently states HG Fashion would be their best bet for a partnership. Next, Bong Joon-hyuk and Go Yeon-ha head to a massive, cold warehouse where tower materials purchased from players are stored, with Go Yeon-ha making sure our hero is bundled up before they step inside, past a massive glowing door. As the lights flicker on, a colossal, specially treated basilisk hide is revealed, mounted like a trophy, leaving Go Yeon-ha speechless. Our gacha boy then casually reveals they've secured and stored a total of 36 such hides, including ironclad, ironjaw, and longtail basilisks. Go Yeon-ha, despite her lack of tower knowledge, recognizes the names wyvern and basilisk as the highest quality materials on Earth, making them a dream in the fashion industry. And Bong Joon-hyuk explains they intend to supply these hides to the private sector for daily use, which leaves her utterly stunned. She quickly confirms that HG Fashion is the target for this supply, and the thought of stamping her Wildflower brand on such rare and precious hides sends shivers down her spine with excitement. As another massive hide is revealed, seemingly pulsating with life, Go Yeon-ha gasps, recoiling in surprise, then reaches out to touch it, utterly awestruck by its beauty and vitality, calling it a work of art. Completely sold, Go Yeon-ha immediately demands that HG Fashion retain the priority right to purchase the second batch of hides, emphasizing her exclusive attendance at the meeting. Our hero, always thinking ahead, assures her that his technicians will sign non-disclosure agreements to prevent any issues. Go Yeon-ha then cuts straight to the chase, her eyes intensely focused, asking how much he plans to supply these precious materials for. Bong Joon-hyuk then produces a scrap piece of hide, explaining that even this faded and crushed material is rare, but the quality difference from the pristine hides is huge, even to the naked eye. Go Yeon-ha is thoroughly impressed, realizing that he's no ordinary man, which our wimpy summoner finds quite interesting. Later, our gacha boy is guided through a lavish apartment building, marveling at the insane night view from his new, freshly registered home. The transfer of the apartment's registration has been completed. He's welcomed to a truly massive entrance inside the apartment itself, complete with a private elevator keycard, leaving our hero ecstatic as he prepares to celebrate his new digs. Our timid tower player literally skips through the opulent rooms, clearly overjoyed with his new palace. His summoned companions are equally thrilled, exclaiming over the sheer space and luxurious feel of their new magnificent palace. Cossack, ever the dramatic one, even declares the toilet is a work of art, proclaiming, "Taking a dump here would be a sin." The summons continue exploring the 300 pyong, 10-room apartment with its internal elevator, one even marveling at the high ceilings perfect for his giant form, then finding a private movie theater with every game console imaginable, while Bong Joon-hyuk proudly points out the 8 refrigerators and 11 bathrooms. Finally, our wimpy summoner and his companions look up at the luxurious ceiling in awe, then gaze out at the beautiful city skyline from their windows, with one loyal summon pledging to protect this new world for their summoner. With the new apartment completely gutted and remodeled, there's not a single trace of the previous owner, and the move is finally complete. His summons are already enjoying the crazy quality of the amenities, not just the sheer size of the place. Our newly domiciled hero relaxes in the heated pool, calling it heaven the fucking dream. One summon calls out to Ox Meatball, who, along with another muscular summon, picks up a protesting female companion and carries her away. They promptly heave-ho her into the pool with a splash, but almost immediately, both muscular men clutch their stomachs in pain. They frantically rush to the bathrooms, reminding each other that they have plenty of them now. The female summon in the pool looks around, realizing someone is missing. A small, hamster-like creature wearing a construction helmet, Razix, lets out a tiny scream. He lets out another panicked cry as the clean master robot vacuum approaches him, relentless as a shark, starting its automatic cleaning. The robot declares it's starting quick and accurate cleaning. Razix desperately dives out of its way. Our farming enthusiast wonders if his Razix is afraid of losing his job, fighting a lonely battle all by himself against the automated cleaner. Ox Meatball looks confused. Bong Juhyuk touches the muscular summon's head, causing a magical flash. The muscular summon then lifts the robot vacuum above his head, ignoring its polite requests to be placed back on the floor. He slams the vacuum onto the ground, earning a defiant threat from the robot. "I will remember this, human." Razix, the little construction hamster, looks utterly dejected, his eyes teary. Meanwhile, a brown, rocky-skinned creature claws at something in the shadows. Back to business, our tower broker confirms that he's getting 7 monster hides per floor clear. He admits he's amazed every time he sees it, but his associate modestly downplays his efforts. However, he then receives an urgent request to stop gathering hides for the time being, making Juhyuk wonder why it's harder to meet Section Chief Lee Mina than it is to get the hides themselves. It's a direct message from the deputy commissioner, and Juhyuk is eager to know why. The reasons are twofold. They lack the facilities to process the hides, and supplying too many at once would inevitably drop their rarity. Another character looks stressed and sweaty, while a woman in traditional clothing points accusingly at him, with Razix crying in the background. She yells at the stressed man that he didn't even understand production, distribution, and sales. The man reacts in agony, while Juhyuk observes with a sweat drop. Feeling too bad for the man, Juhyuk raises his hands, deciding to stop dwelling on the past and focus on rushing to the 50th floor. His Chibai companions, including the female summon, the warrior, and Razix, enthusiastically agree to clear the 46th floor tomorrow. System window displays the mission details for the 46th floor. A giant blue scorpion creature attacks in the tower. A glowing potion bottle floats in the air. While this is a formidable challenge for an ordinary player, the scorpion's tail sweeps across the ground, and one muscular warrior punches it, creating a flurry of sparks. Another warrior attacks, while a distant figure prepares a move, and the female summon provides support buffs on the desert floor. Bong Juhyuk rubs his hands together with a greedy, manic expression, thinking he'll just get a taste of the action while everyone's distracted. But then he reacts in shock. Little Razix is busy picking at a rock face with a pickaxe, chanting, "HWE, HWE, HWE." His pickaxe hits the rock and sparks fly like a blacksmith's forge. Bong Juhyuk notes that a strong metallic smell hits him as soon as they enter the 46th floor, piquing his interest. Razix, looking determined, confirms that there's ore here, hoping that mining it will make his summoner happy. One of the summons barks at Razix to dig quicker, while another asks why he can't do it properly. But Juhyuk simply watches his team, thinking he wants to stay with these people forever. Razix, however, is panicking internally, knowing the hides aren't helpful right now. He has to find something else that makes money like this ore. He frantically digs, determined to fill his bag to make Sumner Bong happy, so he isn't abandoned in the end. After achieving an S++ clear rank and earning a platinum badge, Razix cries out, "HWEC, I couldn't pack it all," as they exit the tower. Razix fidgets in his backpack, sadly apologizing to his summoner. The little hamster, filled with insecurity, whines, "UD, don't need me anymore." But Juhyuk reassures him that it's difficult to fill a bag during a rushed first clear. Juhyuk then thinks it would be sad if Razix disappeared, unlike the assassin, John Cossack, who is currently being physically restrained by the other summons for protesting how they're treating him. Our cautious underdog makes sure to fill Razix's bag with ore, making the little hamster's expression brighten up. 10 days later, we see the exterior of the awakened management department building. An official reports that just 3 days ago, the UAE government controlled the press, after their best state-nurtured player, whom they'd poured so much effort into, failed the 60th floor. The deadline to clear the Black Tower in the UAE passed. He explains that if it collapses, a literal disaster will occur, prompting Crown Prince Abdul bin Salah to urgently visit Korea for a meeting with the president. So a request has come in for Juhyuk. Back at home, Juhyuk watches Razix pile up an absurd amount of ore in his room, wondering about its hundreds of kilograms of weight. He laments that organizing and selling it to the awakened management department is completely backbreaking work. Exhausted, he tells his summons he thought his arm was going to fall off, as they bid him farewell, pledging to guard the house and praying for his success. As a limousine drives him away, Juhyuk internally remarks about always being picked up by the department now. The man in the suit assures him not to worry, stating that meeting player Bong Juhyuk is an important matter, and he has something to tell him. Juhyuk responds with a questioning glance. He listens with a confused expression. The man in the suit smiles at him, our newly rich master, thinking about how his apartment costs $10 million a month to rent, decides there's nothing to worry about. He then daydreams about buying some land and putting a farm on it once the money comes in, imagining Ox Meatball chasing away wild boars, Gion Dalray praying for harvest, and Razix sowing seeds. He proudly considers his team the most optimized for farming. The man in the suit then informs him that the global situation regarding the Black Tower has become quite chaotic recently. He reveals that Japan's Yu Chialman completely broke down after consecutive failures, now trembling in fear and refusing to enter even lower floors. Continues, explaining that Yu Qiaoman was stripped of all naturalization benefits and exiled, leading the Japanese government to sign a temporary player naturalization contract with the U.S. for an astronomical fee. The situation in China is even worse after failing the 59th floor, paralyzing society and forcing them to ask Russia for help and hand over part of Heilongjiang province. Ju Hyuk, stunned, asks about temporary naturalization, as he's told that the UAE also suffers massive damage from a bombing. He then asks if Yu Qiaoman isn't Korean anymore. Our wimpy summoner is shocked by the news that the UAE is asking for a Korean player. How do they know about me? He exclaims, as the man in the suit explains they will simply feign ignorance to Saudi Arabia. Our gacha boy's eyes widen as he realizes the true value of trait enhancement runes, which explains why the UAE would be so reluctant to give one up. Our hero, who also happens to have a multinational tower access ticket, decides to risk it all, declaring, "If it's not a trait enhancement rune, I'm not interested either." They then inspect the monster hides safely stored for future commercialization, as our summoner lovingly encourages his monster hides to hurry up and grow into money. Later, he gets to today's real business, meeting with a crafter worried about a lack of leather crafting equipment, who is initially disappointed by Bong Ju-hyuk's raw materials instead of ingots, but then quickly realizes these are unique, heavy rocks from tower-exclusive inventory. Our hero gets a thumbs up, earning praise for his rare ability to collect items within the tower, though the crafter is still underwhelmed by simple ore, until Bong Ju-hyuk points out something special, and then an enormous pile of crystals materializes in the air. The sheer amount of ore changes everything, and our summoner observes, fascinated, as warehouse workers sort the raw materials, which the crafter informs him are worth millions per kilo internationally. Our wimpy summoner grins maniacally, then gets shocked when the employee announces a total value of over 9 billion won. He frantically asks, "N 9.4 billion, to confirm the staggering amount, and after a quick negotiation, they seal the deal. The other party bows deeply in gratitude, and Bong Ju-hyuk returns the bow, fully embracing his status as wealthy Bong Ju-hyuk. Meanwhile, Razix enjoys a potato chip, while other members of the party, including the woman in hanbok, John Cossack, and a muscular man, argue over a bet on the ore's final selling price. The muscular man confidently declares 10 billion, but John Cossack dismisses it as absurd, comparing it to the house's value. Just then, our wimpy summoner returns home, finding John Cossack diligently vacuuming, and praises his right-hand man for his loyalty, much to the hanbok woman's irritation as she refers to him as a sly fox. Our hero proudly announces the huge sum he made from selling the ore, and everyone celebrates Razix, lifting the little summon up. But the muscular man then asks if Cossack is really going to leave without attending the team dinner, and then yells, "You bastard! I told you no transforming," pinching his head, and then throwing him across the room like a baseball. Cossack crashes into the wall, slowly sliding down, dazed from the brutal forehead flick. Bong Ju-hyuk wonders if his summon's head actually split open from the impact, before he and Razix enjoy a metaphorical boat ride through his new sea of gold. A news report then shows the UAE officially requesting temporary naturalization for Korean players, offering all national infrastructure projects, and a blank check, which social media attributes to the trait enhancement rune. Now uninterested in money, our summoner laments that they didn't offer a rune instead, questioning his government's inaction. He then mockingly asks John Cossack if his forehead is okay after the powerful flick, joking that he reaped what he sowed. Entering the 50th floor of the Black Tower, our hero declares he and Razix will stay back from the Scorpion hunt, focused on not missing out on the Platinum Badge. He muses on needing 6 party members, then corrects himself to 5 since the Mad Demon doesn't count, worried he can only make use of 4 members without a trait enhancement, which would mean benching one. As the muscular man fights a giant scorpion, our hero knows they need one more damage dealer for a smooth S++ clear record. He anxiously hopes this perk will be good, and when Razix shows concern, Bong Ju-hyuk gently reassures them both not to be impatient. As his anxious companions watch, our determined summoner achieves an S++ clear, earning the Platinum Badge, and he resolves to ground himself and show unwavering resolve to his party. He finds the courage to fight in the tower thanks to them, and sincerely thanks everyone, which deeply moves Razix. Confident hero declares his trust and readiness to fight to protect them, though John Cossack immediately counters, "Loyalty, but please do not fight. We will do everything." Bong Ju-hyuk looks down at his glowing screen, vowing not to obsess over the results of this perk, but then he screams in distress when the system awards him another multinational tower access ticket instead of a trait enhancement rune, crying, "Still, this isn't going to come up again, right?" The wimpy summoner is in extreme distress over receiving another multinational tower access ticket, yelling, "God fucking damn it, climbing the tower? I'm not doing it. I won't," while John Cossack also panics, confirming it's a second ticket. Bong Ju-hyuk cries on the floor in panic as a summon bows apologetically, and John Cossack expresses concern about flying monsters on the 51st floor, suggesting a random summon instead. Our hero looks off-panel with a surprised expression, then agrees to the random summon, finding the idea simple and perfect. He asks about an item, and John Cossack eagerly offers to fetch the new summon right now. Meanwhile, 5 days have passed since the UAE Crown Prince arrived in Korea, and he reflects on his failed attempts to recruit a Korean player, despite offering the best conditions and launching media campaigns. With only 15 days left until his tower collapses, he reluctantly considers a humiliating deal with Saudi Arabia, which includes a trait enhancement rune, $1 billion USD, and even territory containing a gas field. He resigns himself to returning home, reasoning that any country would make similar demands, but then hears a clicking sound and is surprised by the security team's presence. Mysterious figure in dark armor, the SR rank assassin John Cossack, silently enters the room, sending a shockwave through the prince. The prince tries to escape to an emergency panic room, but finds himself completely paralyzed. The intruder calmly smirks, orders him to sit, and then frees him from paralysis, causing him to gasp for air. The assassin then asks for a Korean translator, and the hopeful prince offers his phone. Armed guards burst in, aiming their weapons and shouting orders, but the intruder lounges on the sofa, unconcerned. With a mere gesture, several handguns drop to the floor as the assassin holds a glowing dagger and ominously says, "Last time." The guards stare in wide-eyed shock, unable to comprehend the feat, and a chilling aura emanates from the assassin, making everyone feel a blade to their neck. Through a nervous translator, the assassin gets straight to the point, demanding a trait enhancement rune. The prince reacts with outrage, declaring he would never accept, even if killed, but the assassin adds conditions, clearing up to the 61st floor within 6 months, with absolutely no naturalization for the player. Despite the prince's concern for Omar Hassan, the assassin dismisses the unconscious guards as merely having passed out, and hands Omar Hassan a magical item card, telling him to check its effects and explain to the prince. Omar is amazed by the glowing card, which allows entry to any tower without naturalization, and then astonished by the incredible stats of the golden mace and golden aegis shield. He marvels at how many effects are stacked on these powerful items, realizing that to give such gifts, this man is no ordinary person. The assassin promises the deal on his name. He then menacingly tells Omar that he is even better at torture than assassination, threatening to make him hand over the rune in a minute if he doesn't take this opportunity. Omar feels intense pressure, speculating this bizarre man, who can use abilities outside the tower, might be the S++ rank record holder. The trait enhancement rune is then opened in a metallic briefcase, and the assassin hands it to Omar, delighted, saying he finally got the item and got rid of those ugly weapons too. Asking if the deal is satisfactory, the assassin then leaps from the building into the night, like a shadow vanishing into darkness, promising more satisfaction in 15 days. Omar Hassan leans over the railing, pleading with the meatball, John Cossack, to clear the tower. Back home, Bong Joo-hyuk paces anxiously, worried about the assassin's negotiation and the potential for a non-combatant from the new summon affecting future S++ clears. He then uses designated summon to bring forth Mad Demon. Mad Demon, a long-haired man in traditional robes, appears, claiming to have deeply reflected and changed after being cast out by his summoner. Our gacha boy is shocked by this apparent transformation and offers him a soda to drink. Mad Demon holds the can, contemplating its contents since he last tasted food from this world, and then correctly identifies it as a carbonated drink from the US. He then demonstrates his Spirit Sunder Puppet ability, which consumes a great deal of mental energy, proposing that they can just turn the US president into their puppet, to enact a war of conquest and subjugate the entire world. The Mad Demon excitedly proclaims his genius plan, but a horrified Bong Joo-hyuk immediately yells, "UNSUMMON!" Mad Demon vanishes into light, yelling protests, as his satisfaction rating is evaluated as 1 point. John Cossack, the SR rank assassin, suddenly reappears, asking how he got back so fast. Our wimpy summoner looks upward in panicked desperation, demanding to know if Cossack got the trait enhancement rune.